What's up, Sifters? Welcome to GameFace, episode 433 on Sifted Games at SIFTD.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, your humble host for the next couple hours of awesome video game discussion, and alongside me to do that, as always, is the one and only Matt Keil. How you doing, Matt?
All right.
You feeling the summer vibes in LA?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of gray out there today.
Today it is, but like, man, this last weekend, I was like, this is why I live here. It was like 81 and breezy.
Oh, no, it was 93 here.
Oh, on the west side, it was perfect. It was like 80, 81, little breeze blowing. It was just awesome, man. I was like, oh, summer's here, even though it's really not.
It was more like, where did you come from? It was that weird, like, pod system that was like, it made everything like 70 and gray and kind of rainy for like a week, and then it was like you get 2 days of 90-degree weather, and then it's just all disappearing.
I actually thought about going to there was a festival in Pasadena this weekend that I thought about going to.
It's more like 98 up there.
Some of my favorite bands were playing there, and it was also like a lot of other festivals, they had not sold out, and there was tons of tickets available for it. And I was like, man, I started looking on like Craigslist and stuff, and you could get tickets for like a third of like the price. And I was like, oh, man, I'm going to go. Like, I'm just going to go on a whim and go do it. And then I looked at the weather in Pasadena, and it was like 105 degrees. And where they have that festival, there's no shade. You are just out on the Rose Bowl, like, grounds, basically, just getting baked by the sun. And I was like, I'm not doing it. Because it's also, like, 14 hours. Like, in Pasadena, they have to shut everything down at, like, 10 o'clock. So it's like you don't even get like the night hours where it's cool and it's nice and the lights actually, you can see the lights in the fog from the bands. You get like 2 hours of that. And I was like, not worth it. New Order is playing at the same place this weekend, and I'm going through the same stuff right now in my mind. I may actually deal with the heat to go see New Order, actually, though. We'll see. But anyway, I almost went to a concert. I did not go, ultimately. And instead, I played Doom the Dark Ages, which is going to pay off for you guys because we are reviewing it in today's show on GameFace. Couple other things to get to in housekeeping before we get going today. Matt, did you ever get an email from Nintendo, from Nintendo.com, to pre-order a Switch 2?
No.
I never did either.
Well, like I said before, the thing when you sign up for it says on starting May 8th, they will start to tell you. Can do it. So we're gonna get that email in like August.
So I jumped on that right away. On the first day, I was there.
Well, maybe you didn't pass the vibe check. Maybe you're not a worthy customer.
I literally have every Nintendo Switch game ever published by Nintendo.
But how many of those were given to you by Nintendo?
Well, they all were, but they can't tell the difference. It's just a code.
I'm sure they can. They can tell when it's redeemed.
Maybe, but it wasn't about that even. It was about how many hours you've played, and I have literally spent. I don't even want to know how many hours I have spent playing my Switch. I really don't even want to know that number.
I mean, by that metric, I definitely don't get in.
I mean, I definitely do. Like, I played the living crap.
I think you're underestimating how many hours people play Animal Crossing.
No, it's not even that, though. You had to hit a threshold, and then you're just in. It's not like they ranked people based upon how many hours. Like, there was, I think it was like...
I bet they did.
Maybe.
You gotta have an order somehow.
Publicly, they said that it was just, if you played it for X amount of hours, then you're good.
What amount of hours?
I think it was like 100 or something like that.
Who hasn't played their Switch if you've had it since launch, you haven't played it for 100 hours, something's wrong.
Well, I think that's the point. They're trying to weed out the scalpers, basically.
That's just Breath of the Wild.
Right, alone. So anyway, I was shocked that I never got a pre-order invite from Nintendo. I was like, what the hell? I'm like, I'd like to see someone else's account. That dwarfs mine. Other journalists probably, but otherwise, I mean, they send me everything. So I literally have every single thing Nintendo has published on Switch. And I still didn't get into the first round of pre-orders. So anyway, I know I mentioned on last week's show that I was going to have an extra and that I was willing to just, sell it to one of you guys or girls if one of you guys or girls needed one. Now it looks like I'm not going to have that extra. Unless they do email me eventually. But I put out a message on Blue Sky.
Is that with the extra? I thought they were going to send you one.
They are. I'm getting one. And the extra one was going to be the one from Nintendo I was going to give to somebody. And I haven't got that yet. So I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they're going to send me one in a couple weeks. But I put a message up on Blue Sky. And I said, hey, did anybody else have Nintendo reach out to them? And somebody replied and said, yeah, like the day that they went on sale, they reached out to me and I got one. So I don't know what's going on. It's weird.
Well, nobody should have been trusting Nintendo on that.
Yeah.
It was too much of a lottery. I did put my email into that thing, but I obviously ordered one on Best Buy, I guess, because Nintendo's not a retailer.
I wasn't cover my butt. I was just like, I'll get an extra one, and if somebody needs it, or maybe if like my niece or nephew, my brothers or sisters couldn't find one at the holidays, I can give it to them. And then ultimately, that's just going to give it to one of you guys. But as of right now, I don't have an extra. So
well, maybe I get that email sometime before Metroid comes out.
It could still. I mean, look, June 5th is still a long ways away. Yeah. So I could still get one well before the system comes out. We'll see. I'll keep you guys informed. But I will say this. We already have like 8 people who called dibs on my Switch 2. So nobody else contact me saying I want your extra Switch 2. We already have a ton. We have a queue of people in the order of when they contacted me. So anyway, I don't know what's going on. I'm interested to hear if any of you guys had that system work. In fact, let's go to you guys right now and see if any of you guys are talking about it and see if you guys got one that way. And also share with us, if you did get one, how much you've played your Switch and how many games you had on your Switch account. Let's see here. We're on the hype train level 2 already. That's awesome. Thanks, guys and girls. Fire Native, thank you for Twitch Prime. Don Lionheart, thank you for Twitch Prime. Who else we got in here? Too Quick Capri, thank you. Eric Carmena says NFL schedule release tomorrow. Yep. Although a lot of that stuff's leaking out already. I think that's it for Twitch Prime. Thank you for the bits, Luke TG1. That's awesome, man. Glad to see you back again. Vincent, have you played Switch games for 50 hours online? Yeah, I've played Mario Kart alone for that much online.
I guess definitely. It depends. Like, I have definitely played like some of the things with online components that like I've played Xenoblade Chronicles X online that long, but like that's just like you join a group and everybody gets bonuses for the stuff you're doing.
Yeah, it was never clear. Nintendo said that one of the requirements was that you had to have allowed them to access your information. And I don't remember consciously letting them access my information, but I also definitely didn't cut them off from my information.
I'd imagine you have to opt out of that specifically.
Yeah, and I never did. So I don't know what happened. It's really weird. Luke says, hope you are well. I'm hyped for Doom the Dark Ages. Are there any movies you're excited to see in 20... We'll get to questions at the end of the show. Let's see if we got anything else. Ed Rock the Truth. I received an email. It expired yesterday. I never got one. Eric Cartmanis, I got one through Target. Might flip it. Be careful. Rosencrantz, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. That's awesome. Gohan Rage says, I got my Switch pre-ordered on the day, but not at midnight. In Canada, pre-orders didn't start until noon of the 24th of April. I had a queue to shop on and then had a queue to check out. I was successful getting a Switch. I keep checking back to make sure it wasn't canceled. That's the worst part, man. You're just worried. Until that thing shows up on your doorstep, you are not 100% convinced it's going to show up. Good to see you, Gohan, by the way. I haven't seen you on the site for a while. And thank you for Twitch Prime as well. That's awesome. Ashes and Yarglass, I put 170 hours into Xenoblade 3, and he didn't get a message. Yeah. Don Lionheart, thank you for the bit. That's awesome. Userfriendly.exe, thank you for Twitch Prime. Mighty Pony Girl, actually want a Switch 2, don't have a Switch, have no idea how I would even go about getting a Switch other than being able to pick one up from the nearby Best Buy a year or so from now. We'll see. I mean... Look, all the Nintendo fans are going to buy them up now, and there may be a lull there where you can get one like a month or two after launch if the normies aren't excited about Switch 2, or they're not excited about the price, which could happen. So we'll see. Saber says, I guarantee Shane has 100 online hours on Splatoon alone. Exactly. And Splatoon 2, and Splatoon 3. I have thousands of hours playing on Nintendo Switch Online. Again, I have no idea why I didn't get an email. It's very weird. David5807, thank you for Twitch Prime as well. That's awesome. Before we get going, I just want to remind everybody that we are basically supported 100% at patreon.com/SIFTD. That's SIFTD. Also, YouTube peeps, while we're here right now, just like the episode right now. Leave a comment. Best podcast ever. I don't care what you put in there. Like the show. Leave a comment. Helps us with the algorithm. We'd appreciate it. If you don't have any money, that's a good way to help us. But if you do have money, head to patreon.com/SIFTD. Give us a pledge. $4 a month gets you all our content early. You get it 4 days early for this show, a week early for Pactor Factor. We are very generous in that way towards our patrons. You guys get hooked up. And if you can't do that, as you hear on the show every week, help us with Twitch Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can give us a free $2.50 every month. If you're watching on YouTube, go down below right now. Follow the instructions. Once you connect those accounts, it literally takes 3 seconds. Three clicks for $2.50. We'd appreciate it very much. And that's how we survive. And that's how we come back here every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern for GameFace on Twitch. What about you, Matt? What'd you do this weekend or this week? Anything fun?
No.
Yeah.
What did I do?
played some games.
I did.
We're going to talk
I did
about
play some games. I did play Revenge of the Savage Planet, and I don't know. I blanked out on whatever I did. I rewatched. Went to my friend's who has the super duper theater set up to rewatch Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh.
In preparation for the new movie, which apparently is not getting very good social media response, which is weird because normally this, you have the double release of PR where like first you release the social media impressions from the influencers they invited to the screening, and then the review embargo goes up with the actual critics like later. The social media impressions are always like, oh, best movie ever. I can't believe the things I have seen. I can't tell you because I'm blind from the spectacle. And it's like the impressions on this one are like, this one's not amazing. One guy said it's compared it slightly unfavorably to Rise of Skywalker, which is one of the worst things I've ever seen. So that's not encouraging. And apparently it's very, like, continuity heavy. Like, there's call-outs to, like, almost every other movie in the Mission Impossible series. And I'm like, I don't remember it. I can't remember what happened in each of these movies. They're all the same fucking movie.
They kind of are,
which is fine. Every peanut butter cup is the same peanut butter cup. But, like, don't make me remember specific things other than, like, the fact that, like, Ving Rhames and...
Right. Does anybody do that for Mission Impossible? No.
I don't think
so.
Tom Cruise does.
Right,
I'm sure,
okay.
but like,
I guarantee you, he's the one who made sure to put that stuff in there.
The only thing I can tell you about Mission Impossible, the second one was the John Woo one that was kind of terrible.
Yeah.
And it's the only one that has nothing to do with the overarching story of the main series, and it's also the only one where no one betrays him from the inside. You got to start vetting these people. Every other movie in the entire series, someone either on the Impossible Mission Force or one of the closely related government agencies betrays them. Yeah. And I'm like, does anyone background check in this fucking series? That's all. And like, I can distinguish them basically by how they almost kill Tom Cruise in real life in each movie.
Seriously.
Basically. It's like, is that the one where he hung from the plane's door?
He's pretty crazy.
Or is that the one where he jumped a motorcycle off a mountain? It's just like, so you can kind of organize them like that. But I don't know. Fallout was pretty. I hadn't seen Fallout. I missed Fallout in the theaters for some reason, which was the 2 before. And that one was pretty great. The Henry Cavill one.
I haven't seen it still.
It's remarkable that like I like Henry Cavill in everything I've ever seen him in except the Superman movies. He just was never allowed to be a decent human Superman in any way. He was just basically a power fantasy weirdo from who isn't in a Zack Snyder movie, but like
I mean that's
he's
kind
just
of
such he's like, got a charm and he's got like a charisma to him, and he just wasn't allowed to use any of it as Superman, and it's fucking wild.
It is pretty wild. Yeah. I didn't really check out any movies, but I did watch. I had missed last week's episode of The Last of Us, and so I watched last week's and this one all in a row. And
I did catch up on Andor because I was behind.
I still haven't started. I'm waiting until it's all out, and I'm going to just blaze
tonight.
Through. Is it tonight?
Tonight's the final 3. It's really, really good.
I know. I see people talking about. People have been great, by the way, not spoiling anything. They just say, "Holy crap, Andor, even better than I could have ever imagined." And I'm just like, yes.
Oh, I started to catch up on Last of Us. I watched episode 2 and part of 3, and like I don't know, man. Like it's not really hooking me, and I don't really know why.
It's nowhere near as good as the first.
It's just not
season.
as well. It's also just not as
so
good.
far.
It's
anyway.
not as good as the game.
Yeah.
And like. I don't know. I mean, it's only 6 episodes. I'll get through it.
Is it only 6?
So there's
only one more left?
I think there's 2. Maybe there's 2 more. Maybe
I think there's 7. Still 7 is so little.
It's very short. I mean, 2 plus 3 are going to add up to basically 1 season.
Yeah.
But it's prestige television. Sometimes they're short.
Yeah.
There are seasons of British television that are 4 episodes.
Really?
It's like just.
I didn't know that.
Some of those are longer, obviously, but like, no, it's just not really grabbing me. It's like I don't know, like, and it's not because it's different from the game or similar to the. I don't know. It's just not really. It's not gelling for me somehow. Like I like seeing a lot of the scenes from the game kind of brought to life, like the museum scenes, very very nice. I don't know. I don't really know why it's not hooking me.
The whole episode last week was just about them finally hooking up and becoming a couple.
Right. I saw some clips.
And then this week is like, hey, Ellie's mad again.
I'm glad they let her sing "Take on Me."
Yeah. Well, then she also sings in this one, and I actually fast forwarded past this parts of the show. I love "Take on Me" and all, but I'm just like, I don't care.
There is an element of I don't know if Bella Ramsey can carry the show as the lead. That's a very different thing to ask of an actor.
The girl that plays Dina, amazing.
Oh, she's great.
She's gonna win some awards for
I
this
think
season.
She's great in everything she's been in.
I don't even know her. I'd never seen her until this.
You probably have. You just
I
don't
just
remember.
don't remember.
You don't remember because she looks very different in this one.
Amazing. She's the best actor in the show so far this season.
Yeah, she's a great get, especially for someone who has to kind of be through the whole.
Yeah.
And
then the girl who is the star of Intergalactic, which is Naughty Dog's next game, she's in the show, and she has a big role in this past episode. I'm not going to spoil, but she has a big part in it. But both the last 2 episodes, I've been like, I don't know.
I didn't realize that was her until the second episode where they're in the cabin looking at Jackson Hole, and I'm like,
hey, it is. Yeah,
put that jacket on. Let me see something. Yeah,
that's her.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah,
the little Naughty Dog continuity.
Yep.
Sort of like I like when they do that. Like I like that. What's her name in the first season? Blanking on her name now. The Fireflies. You know, the one who begins with an M. Her name. She's the one who gives Ellie to Joel, and then
and then she sacrifices herself during that zombie attack for her and Joel to get away.
That's Tess. I mean the Firefly, the Marlene.
Oh yeah.
That's the same woman who played her in the game.
Yeah, so they don't do that enough.
Fun. Well, you couldn't do it with Tess. So.
Yeah, obviously, sadly.
But, and I don't think Troy Baker would really work as Joel in live action.
Probably not, actually.
And yeah. Axum,
thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Ilordarian, thank you for gifting the tier 1 sub. That's awesome. Teddy6008, thank you for Twitch Prime. Got any more of these? Totemish, thank you. Erebus Jones asks, isn't M12 the one where Dougray Scott is a disavowed IMF agent?
Yeah, but they know he's bad from the beginning. Like, that's why he goes after him. So, like, there's no, like, turn in the middle where all of a sudden someone he trusted betrays him. But it is, again, another brick in the wall of just, like, none of these people fucking last as loyal subjects of the Impossible Mission Force. It's also a little weird that there was a, because I hadn't seen Fallout, but like Alec Baldwin, I forgot Alec Baldwin is sort of their head contact for a while as like the government liaison that kind of shepherds the thing. And there's a scene where he's like, he has to like threaten one of the bad guys and like, but he tricks him with an empty gun, and then he's like, it's like, I think last I checked, this one's loaded. You want to find out? I'm like, no, oh no, oh no, Alec Baldwin, don't say that. In retrospect, that's such a terrible thing.
Yes,
I saw when they, I think I said with Rust came out the same weekend as Thunderbolts.
Yeah,
and Hollywood Reporter like said it flopped. It was in like 5 theaters.
Yeah.
It was just they had to get it out to get it. There were probably some contracts that
they had to do it. Yeah.
But the original Hollywood Reporter headline was Alec Baldwin's Rust DOA.
Yeah, you said that last week.
And I'm like, no, who's reading this shit?
Headline.
And it was changed in like 10 minutes. But it's just like, how does that get the press?
On the internet, it's out there forever.
Unbelievable.
Erebus also says The Last of Us Season 2 so far feels like a Walking Dead spinoff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that partly comes from the settlement they're in.
Notice I said that after the first episode. I was like, my fear is that this is going to turn into The Walking Dead, where they're at a settlement, people invade, things go sideways, they leave, they find enough, and it just rinse and repeat it. And you can keep doing that for forever, as The Walking Dead has proven. Not with as big an audience, but you can keep doing it.
I do feel like the first season kind of went afield more with
it was just better. It wasn't Walking Dead.
And world exploration, and like it kind of. I mean, they did do the Walking Dead. They kept finding little groups of people here and there, but like even the way they reimagined finding the 2 brothers, and then like having to escape that kind of cult town, and like that's all different, and the way that the infected show up is all different, but it all worked. It all felt like a natural like kind of reinterpretation of the world from the game as this new form in the show, and it almost, there's an element of me that's like the structural changes to the new season versus the game don't really work for me, but then when they stick to the game, it doesn't feel like it really works either. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why it worked the first time and it's not working here.
Next week, flashback episode, bringing Joel back, of course.
Right. Well, I know they got to sprinkle the Pedro in.
Yep.
Just like every other media project in the world.
You're right.
Like
he's really, everywhere.
I just remember like back when Mandalorian season 1 and he had to take the helmet off to like be treated by the droid, and he takes it off, and I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Right.
I was like, He's a weird-looking guy under the helmet. I didn't expect him to look like that, you know.
And now
he's like the biggest star in the world.
It's really
like,
crazy.
Like he's in every major franchise.
Uh-huh.
He's like the new Chris Pratt.
It's crazy. Yep.
You know what I was thinking? I did go. It was a while. It was last weekend, I guess. We went to that Universal Fan Fest, and I always think when I go on the Jurassic World ride or whatever, like, and between that and like the Guardian stuff, Chris Pratt, of all the actors of that generation, Chris Pratt's gonna live forever in theme parks.
Oh yeah.
As like a young strapping lad.
Yeah.
Like everyone,
It'll
even if you have
always
no
be
idea
there.
what Jurassic World or Guardians of the Galaxy was, you're gonna know Chris Pratt from those rides forever.
I mean, that's why actors sign on for those films. There's all kinds of pin action that happens afterwards that make you eternal. I mean, let's be honest. Andy T. Monahan, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. That's awesome. Big Dave Lazard, thank you for Twitch Prime. We got any more in here before we get into the bulk of the show? Don't think so.
Treadzilla is right. Ellie is feel a little immature in a way that she doesn't in the game, even though she is. And I mean, the reason anything happens in the game at that story at all is because Ellie is not mature.
And a lot of that for me is around her relationship, the way she acts with Dina. Like, it's like she literally acts like she's like 13. Maybe it is like her first romance or whatever.
Yeah. But like she does. I don't recall her being like that in the game.
Me either. Yeah.
Like she handled it a little better.
I don't remember her ever acting like a kid in the game.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Is like the games.
That was her thing.
Well, the game's take on her in the second game seems to be like she had to grow up real fast, and like she doesn't know how to deal with her emotions very well, as seen by how she behaves with Joel and Dina, and even Abby, really.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I don't know. Like, one of my favorite things about the second game is that in the end, the big kind of twist is that it was never about Abby. You know, and I don't know if the show is heading for that same. We won't know for years.
Well, remember we talked about the first episode? We're like, damn, Abby has some good friends. She has some really good friends.
Really good friends. Like they went through a bonding period or something. Yeah. You want to talk? You want to talk about, you know, a good friend helps you move, a best friend helps you move a body.
Yeah.
That's a lot of best friends.
That's hilarious. All right, we got to get going here. We actually have a big show today. It was not a gigantic week in games, but so we talked about GTA 6. It had just happened that morning, and obviously it's now been a week, and so much stuff has happened around GTA 6 over the last 7 days. Like, fans have jumped in with all their fan theories. People have combed through the trailer and watched every frame to find all the little stuff, and we're going to talk about it pretty briefly here. Honestly, there hasn't been that much. I was kind of surprised. Like, if you start going through a lot of those articles and videos around that stuff, like, a lot of it, honestly, is just, like, obvious stuff. Yeah. Oh, here's a beer brand. Oh, look, there's a car that we've seen in the other GTAs.
It's been just... I stopped looking at any of it.
I mean,
I will make one bold prediction for you, though.
Okay.
Jason's a cop.
That's what everyone's saying.
I think he's a cop.
Yeah, that's one of the most common predictions. So I'll just go through them, and you tell me how plausible you think these are. The first big one is that Liberty City is playable. No. There's a license plate in the trailer, and obviously Lucia is from Liberty City. Mm-hmm. So people are saying that Liberty City is playable. Obviously, that would line up with what Pactor heard back in 2018 about the game, although we learned this week that they didn't start full production on the game until 2018. So Pactor could have been told something that was on the design doc for GTA 6, and then ultimately they start working on it and decide that can't happen. We don't know. But fans do seem to think that Liberty City is going to be playable. What do you think?
0%.
Yeah?
Not a chance in hell.
How come?
Because it's too much.
Yeah.
The map on this thing is gigantic. I do think that the plan is to use this as a platform, and like the next GTA, quote unquote, will probably be Liberty City, and it will just be added on.
Onto this.
I think what Pactor saw probably is still the plan, but it's certainly not the plan for the launch of GTA 6.
Yeah. Once I saw how big
there's
Leonida
just out-of-state
is,
plates in this game. That's all.
Yeah.
Like you think they don't have that level of detail here?
Right.
That you can't. You're probably going to see San Andreas plates too. Like I see Florida plates all the time here. Like people drive across the country. And that would be a nice little touch to be able to see who's from where. You could even throw in the names of other states that you haven't had games in to reveal what the states of different, you're like, oh, what state is that? Oh, it must be Utah because it's some fucking Mormon joke or something. Yeah. Like I could see them doing that too.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do seem to think Liberty City is going to be playable, but once I saw how big Leonida is, Florida is, I was like, no way. I'm like, this is almost too big for this game.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge.
It's much bigger than San Andreas in 5.
Oh yeah, and way bigger than Vice City's ever been.
And granted, well, I mean, if you look at Vice City, the Vice City map does actually map onto the little corner of Vice City in this.
Yeah.
Like down in the lower southeast area.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, right, that's where the two little island, quote unquote, are. And now it just extends back like 100 other miles. It's like, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing. I see. You really cheaped out on us in Vice City, I guess. Look at that. You barely got to half the city.
Yep. Here's the other common one. GTA and Red Dead Redemption are set in the same universe. So if you look at there's shots of money in this, and it has characters' faces from Red Dead Redemption on the money.
I think that's always been a pretty...
Yeah?
I don't think... It's not official, but like, it is. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Like there's a book by someone named Marston about the Old West.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that. Michael's bookshelf in 5.
Oh, I never knew that.
It's believed to have been written by his son.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, yeah, I mean, again, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it's never going to impact.
They're never going to cross over.
No. Unless they get real weird at some point.
Which actually might be awesome.
But like, no, it's pretty safe to kind of make that assumption as just for fun or whatever. The only like real thing that stops it from being just sort of a given is that Red Dead Redemption calls the place Texas.
Right.
And none of the states. What I didn't see, maybe someone did mention it. What does the money say? It says United States of something, and I can't.
I think the hands were always covering the money.
It doesn't say America.
Yeah.
It says it begins with an A, and it's
what
like
is it?
longer than America, and I don't know what that is. But is there a name for the continent?
I don't think yet. I don't think anyone's
Americania or something.
Probably something like that.
Something like that,
or just Americana, maybe.
Maybe I don't know.
Yep. And then the butt physics right here. Right
there,
right where her butt shakes there. Did you see that when she spins around?
Well, there was someone. Was it this game or another? It was some game I saw, and it had ab jiggle physics. Like it was a guy with like a big muscle man dude, but he was walking.
It's Virtua Fighter.
That's it. It was Wolf. That's right. It was Wolf in Virtua Fighter.
His pecs like bounce up and down.
Ab jiggle physics.
Yeah.
His 6-pack moves.
Yeah.
The real stuff that makes games great.
Well, speaking of that, the timing is actually perfect. So I actually mentioned this last week when we saw the first trailer that I thought it might be the case. And as it turns out, I think it 100% is. It's pretty definite at this point that your character does gain or lose mass throughout the course of the game. Mm-hmm. So if you start watching this, his body changes 6 different times in this trailer. If you look at the screenshots of him, every screenshot he has a different body build. Her too. There are times where she's borderline almost overweight. There's one where she's really skinny when she's working out. And somebody told me this, and I did not know this, Matt. I'm interested to know if you did. That Red Dead Redemption had weight gain and loss. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, it did.
I didn't know that.
Because it tells you you're underfed or over.
I never noticed that, but your character model actually changes.
The reason you never notice it is the system's idiotic.
Yeah.
Like, you lose a tick of weight every, like, I think it's like every 4 in-game hours if you don't constantly eat. Like you would never eat enough to basically be anything more than underfed. You're, like and then he does lose.
You get tuberculosis eventually.
When he gets TB, he does lose a lot more weight. But like, no, I've never been able. Because when I replayed it like last summer, I was like, I'm gonna try to make him fat. I'm gonna try to do that, and I couldn't make him fat. Like
I didn't even know it was in there.
Yeah, it's not super. I mean, you can make him, I guess, pretty big in the end.
Yeah, there's screenshots of him huge. Yeah,
but it's like. You'd never be able to pull that off in normal. It's not something that would happen. Like with CJ, you actually he could get kind of if you kept getting hurt and you like bought a burger all the time to like heal him. Like he got a little fat, and then Smoke would like criticize you and be like, CJ, it's like, bro, the glass house.
Yep. So anyway, it looks pretty definite that there is muscle gain or mass loss throughout the course of the game. Some people noticed that Lucia, and I can't believe I did not notice this watching this trailer as many times as we did. Lucia has an ankle collar throughout the entire thing. Mm-hmm. I never even noticed it.
That was in the first trailer, too.
I didn't notice that. She's on probation, and in this trailer, they show her doing her probation community service work, picking up trash. There's a one shot where she comes into the house and jumps on top of him. She has her work vest on from her community service. And then people think that there is some kind of a pet angle of it because they've shown cats. They showed a snake in their apartment. They showed dogs. So people think that maybe raising pets is a thing in the game. We'll see. That one seems a little more far-fetched to me. People just went through the trailer and found all the activities, and they're assuming that you'll be able to do these and play through these. There's fishing, kayaking, scuba diving.
Crazy shot.
Which one?
That last one with it's just the TV he's watching before it cuts to her walking in.
Just the PlayStation underneath it?
Right, but I'm talking more like the reflection in the picture on the left, where you can see the reflection of the room and what's happening in the room, and the reflection of the TV and everything that's happening on the TV and what's outside.
There it is. Yeah, look at that picture over on the left. Leaning
against
the wall.
And it's all happening.
Look at the frost on the beer on the right that hasn't been opened yet.
Yeah.
The one on the left doesn't have it because it's been opened. Mm-hmm. There's a PlayStation controller. There's also, they say, what looks like a PlayStation 6 or something.
It just looks like a modified PS5.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a shot a lot of people focused on.
Well, look at
And then obviously him in the commercial. And you can see the TV on the glass.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
It's crazy. What else have people found? So the activities: fishing, kayaking, scuba diving, dirt bike racing, mini golf, and pool. So they're guessing that those are things that you'll actually do. We'll see if that actually ends up being the case or not. Some other fan theories, some of the more far-fetched ones. There will be a third playable character. That is the detective that is featured in the trailer. The game will flip the script, and you will end up trying to bust Jason and Lucia. So apparently there's some detective that appears like 3 times in the trailer or whatever, and people seem to think that he's going to be playable in some way. The other common theory is
seems very L.A. Noire.
Mm-hmm. The other theory, as you mentioned when we first started discussing this, Jason is an undercover cop, and he
really gives off cop vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's in really good shape. I think that's a big
part.
Of it.
It's something. It's the hat and the attitude, and he doesn't have a gangster attitude.
No, you're right.
He doesn't have a criminal attitude. He has that. What the LAPD in the 90s would have called command presence.
Yeah.
I don't really mean that as a compliment.
Right, exactly.
But I don't know. If I was doing something illegal, I'd be like, don't do it in front of that dude.
Yeah, definitely not.
Her, no. She's not.
Well, there are also people who think that she is going to be the one who turns on him because she's been in prison and she was working with criminals in prison to set up this whole thing.
Because she realizes he's a cop.
Right.
And but I'll give you 3 guesses why she suddenly got probation. Because he's a cop.
Oh.
He's like, I need her out to do what I'm going to do.
Right,
now.
That could be.
Like, this is his whole plan.
Uh-huh. And then extrapolating on that, a lot of fans believe that there will be some kind of a relationship meter between the two of them, kind of like the meter from Red Dead, but instead it's going to measure how those two are getting along, how copacetic their relationship is. Obviously, if one of them is a undercover cop or a narc or whatever, that will affect that big time.
That would be annoying if you work on that, right? And then like the plot thing happens and
it just goes down to
But
zero.
I mean, they've done that before. I took over all of Los Santos and San Andreas, and then CJ got exiled from Los Angeles, and I lost all my territory. I'm like, what did they do all that for then?
So that you would really feel it when it all goes away, would be my guess.
But I thought that was the game. I owned all of Los Angeles, and all of a sudden you had to like fucking go up to fucking Palmdale, and I'm like, oh, that sucks.
And then the final thing, I think this is more fans' wishful thinking than they really think it's going to be there, but fans do believe that most buildings will be enterable. You'll be able to actually enter most buildings in the game.
Bullshit.
What percentage would you put that at, Matt?
0.
Oh, really?
Like, no.
Really?
You're gonna
0?
You're going to be able to, like, all buildings? Bullshit. No, not a chance in hell. Like, you'll have some you can go into, probably more than before, but no, that's ridiculous. Who needs that? Like, what, you want to walk in, look at the lobby, and leave?
And like an empty room. Yeah, it's kind of pointless,
You ever want this game to come out?
Right.
Of course
That's
not.
another good point. Although that could be a reason why it hasn't come out in 13 years.
Yeah, just endless hotel lobby development. No, of course not. Of course not. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not even something that I really care about that much. I don't need to go into every building.
People complain about that all the time, and it's like, no, who cares?
Why? Why does it matter to people so much?
You know when I also can't go into every building I see? Real life.
Right. Like, you can't go into, like, hardly any of them. Honestly, in real life, that's the truth of the matter. You really can't. You can't go into, like, any of them.
No.
And that's pretty much it. Even after a week of the most hardcore fans combing over these trailers, all those the 80 screenshots that Rockstar put out, that's pretty much the bulk of all the fan theories, the ideas, the stuff that they've noticed. It's worth talking about. Again, like, a lot of people just went in and named every car that's in the trailer and every boat that's in the trailer, that kind of stuff. But this was the more interesting stuff that really kind of caught my eye and may have an impact. How much do you think of this stuff is going to be accurate?
Not a ton of it.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the mini games are right. I think he is probably an undercover cop. I guess the pet thing is possible, but it's, again, I mean, because it was in 5. I mean, you had the dog. Not that it ever mattered again. Like, that's the thing is, like...
They take stuff away, though. Rockstar does. It'll do stuff and take it away.
But also because, like, that was, again, it was pointless. Like, so much of the weird mini game and, like, side stuff in 5 just were complete dead ends.
Yeah.
Gameplay-wise, story-wise, like, anything-wise. Like, that's the thing is, whatever is in this in terms of side stuff or enhanced stuff or detail stuff, I hope some of it has some kind of purpose or meaning or results that are, like, that make you feel like, oh, I'm glad I spent that. I did not feel glad I spent time playing fetch with the dog, with Franklin's dog in 5. It didn't do anything.
Yeah,
it didn't get you anywhere.
Well, maybe in this one they'll actually extrapolate.
There was no reason to do yoga as Michael. No. Like, it didn't get you an upgrade. I mean, I think it got you some, like, weird one, like, achievement or something. Like, it was.
I think sometimes it's just Rockstar messing with you.
I think probably, but it's like, I mean, so's your fucking cousin calling you to go bowling every 5 seconds in 4. That's also stupid.
I think that's Sam Hauser saying, I'm going to make a bunch of meatheads do yoga. I seriously think he does stuff like that.
I mean, that's literally what's happening in the story, too. You're doing yoga with you're being taught yoga by the guy your wife is cheating on you with. It's like a cuck joke, basically. It's just, I don't know. Like, again, it kind of wraps up into my whole thing about, well, I sure hope maybe you guys have grown up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, based upon the first 2 trailers, it feels like it has grown up a bit.
Go watch the GTA 5 early trailers.
Are they like this too?
Pretty much the same.
Oh, really?
Thing.
Okay.
Well, 2 things. They portray it basically as like Heat, like a serious crime drama, and B, we used to think that looked good.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, I thought this was as good as we're gonna look, and now it's like, oh wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Now they all look like a Nicktoon compared to this, and it's just like.
Well, let's check in with you guys and see what you guys have made of the last 7 days of Grand Theft Auto 6 Mania, because that is really what it has been. Like, as somebody who has to look through all the content that the websites are putting out and decide which stuff goes into the sifted machine for you guys to read and watch, I can't tell you how much stuff I deleted.
Yeah, I think Vortex Complex makes a good. He's hoping there's an extensive exotic fish hunting list like RDR2. But that's a good point, like a sideways point where, like, I thought Red Dead 2 did a good job of rewarding you for doing the side stuff because you always got some special gun or special item or outfit or there was always a reward for doing these things, and there was sort of a beginning, middle, and end to them. As opposed to the way GTA has traditionally done it is like, you can just do this forever for no good reason. Maybe some money. But money doesn't really matter in these games because you always end up with so much of it. So you just go bowling forever. Again. And it's like, well, but Red Dead really, there was always a reason to do what you're doing in Red Dead. And I hope they carry that philosophy forward.
They should. I mean, I think a lot of lessons that were learned with Red Dead 2 are, and some
the
worse, honestly. Because there's some things in Red Dead 2 that I'm like, I don't really want to do that again.
Yeah, but, I mean, I imagine we will not be hunting quite so far. I mean, I don't know. Like, we might be capturing a lot of gators.
There's that whole national park and everything.
The swamp is all out there. But, which also was in Red Dead. That's where you probably are going to see a Red Dead connection, is like you'll find something that references those swamps.
I guarantee there's going to be a mission where you hunt, like, massive snakes, pythons, because that whole state is overrun by pythons. And, like, I guarantee there's going to be some angle for that with wildlife. Like,
I hope you just can randomly find alligators in pools, though, because apparently that
is a thing. That absolutely happens. Lots of iguanas, too.
One of my friends who grew up there says that she was late for a wedding once because there was an alligator laying across the road and no one could get past it.
Yeah? What are you going to do?
It was the size of the road. And, like, you
can't
shoo an alligator. So and you get there and you're like, I'm sorry we missed the beginning of the ceremony because, like, there was an alligator, and, like, the other flirt, and he's like, oh, say no more.
Yeah. Swan Senpai.
Completely acceptable excuse.
Swan Senpai says, I don't want to waste my time messing with weight in a video game. It's hard enough in real life. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was the problem with Red Dead, was, like, you couldn't. It happened too fast.
Yeah. Blitches9 says, Lucia's going to be a problem in this story. Jason seems like he just wants to chill, but she wants the rags to riches lifestyle. I mean, you're right. In the trailer, she's pushing for that.
Yeah, he does seem kind of content.
He's just laid back, sipping his beers, and she's like, let's go.
But that might be all part of his
undercover. It could be.
That could be the whole thing. Like, we release her, and she's going to go, she's going to go try to do this shit, and you're going to, like, go along for the ride and get into the underworld stuff, and we'll be able to bust these people higher up. We'll get a man on the inside.
It's possible.
And then, like, it all goes wrong because someone figures it out, or that detective's in the wrong place, the wrong time, and they realize he's connected to him, and it's like, there you go.
Yep, off you go. Retro Minor Gamer says the beer bottle also has distortion in real time of the TV. I mean, that's the thing for me, as I started looking through this trailer, that stuff. seeing those little details that are just so far beyond. And again, somebody mentioned in the chat, Nightwing 3060. This was all on base PS5, according to Rockstar. I mean, I think it's just going to melt my base PS5. It's already so hot. Like, playing Doom, the Dark Ages, I really thought my PS5 was going to melt down. Like, it is so hot that my PS5 was sitting a good 4 feet away from me, and I could feel the heat coming out of my PS5.
That's the fires of hell.
It really is. I think you may be right. Let's see. The Legacy, Jason Let's Bowling.
I'm real curious about what the draw distance is going to look like.
Seriously, though. Ashes in the Hourglass says Rockstar is too in love with their writing to allow these systems to actually play a major role and potentially get in the way. All right. Swan Senpai says, I liked GTA 5, but I've grown up since 5. I hope the writers for 6 have too. Their type of humor isn't for me anymore.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's mostly new writers anyway, so we'll see what they do. It's always tough to kind of like do a new installment in like a legendary series where like, do you move it forward or do you like, just give people what they expect all over again? Because
I think you try to do both.
Somewhat, but moving it forward does tend to get you death threats in this day and age.
Yeah,
so,
it really does.
We'll see what happens.
Although Rockstar...
I actually agree with, who I think, was it Swan Senpai or somebody up there who was like, I don't understand why everybody cares so much about this. I mean, I get why people care because of, big... Am I particularly excited about this game? Absolutely not.
Oh,
like, I don't really want. I don't care about playing it really. I'm very impressed by the tech on display. Like I would 100% watch an animated movie that was like using that visual tech. It looks great. But do I super care about playing like another open world crime game in Florida? I mean, not that they're all in Florida, but it's like nothing in this trailer excites me to play anything. I'm just super impressed by the visuals on display.
It was just surprising because it has everything. It literally has everything you can do in life in that like 3 minutes.
Well, in the cutscenes, let's see what you can actually do in the game.
That's a good point.
Like as soon as the game restricts you to whatever you're allowed to do, like. We don't know anything about the game, really, other than what we can assume by having played the previous GTAs.
Blitches9 says, you're going to be washing your car by hand the same way you brushed your horses in Red Dead 2.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Ervin says, the only time I've been to America was to Florida, and we got held up on the road to the Kennedy Space Center because 2 alligators were in the road. That's what a coincidence that is.
Yep. They're just on the sides of the road. It's another world. It's like going to the Savage Land.
Yeah,
in
it really
X-Men.
is. Yep.
It's like there's just fucking dinosaurs everywhere.
That's what they are, really.
Yeah.
Retro Modern Gamer.
The flamingos are literally dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Birds are dinosaurs.
They are, yep. Retro Modern Gamer finishes up with, in San Andreas, you go to Liberty City for a mission, but you're trapped. Yeah, you just basically just loads it.
Tiny little section of map.
I mean, they can do the same thing with this game. They can just send you to the airport and then just load in Liberty City or whatever.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if eventually they build this thing out to, like, World of GTA or whatever, but it's certainly not going to be at launch.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, it looks like you guys have spilled your guts on Grand Theft Auto 6. It's been a crazy week. Like I said, pretty much every outlet has just been putting out Grand Theft Auto content, anything it can think of. And instead of like rounding stuff up, they'll do one story on fans think Lucia's a narc. Instead of just rounding them up and I'm like, delete. Anyway.
I wonder, is like the car going to become like the horse and like you're just constantly going to leave the guns you want like in the car?
Maybe.
Until you
get him painted and wash it.
It seems like they're going to go there. I mean, given how realistic this looks, you're probably not going to be able to carry all your weapons on you magically in subspace pockets like the old games.
Yeah.
So am I constantly going to leave my AK like in the trunk?
Maybe.
It's like, that's annoying.
That is annoying. Have to go back to the car to get guns. Yeah. I mean, look, they'll gamify some parts of it. But I thought they might do that with Red Dead, and they didn't. So maybe.
I can't remember. I mean, it's almost like a running gag in that game where it's just like, I'm going to go do the thing. I'm fucking on my fucking rifle. It's like, give me my carbine, you goddamn horse. Like, like, Arthur, what are you doing getting off the horse without your fucking carbine? Like, that's what we do. That's what we use. We've been, like, I spent 4 hours earning enough money to buy that thing first off so we didn't have to, like, mess with these pistols all day, and you won't fucking take it off the horse. How many times do I have to tell you that's your default loadout?
I mean, it could very well be that way with Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. It's going to take longer to get the trunk open and to pull a gun off a horse, so it's
even more
annoying.
It'd be even worse. So anyway, there you go. Those are all the details that have been uncovered, and some are just wishful thinking on the parts of fans from this week. We'll see how long it takes till we get more from Grand Theft Auto 6. I tend to think it's probably going to be a while. Yeah. I think they threw us a bone, and a big bone, let's be honest. I mean, they sent a 3-minute trailer and like 80 screenshots. That's a lot. So
I think that one site that literally took every frame of the trailer and made every one a screenshot.
5,000 frames.
Screenshots.
Yeah. For fans to sort through it. And I've never been that big a fan of anything.
I've never seen anyone that desperate for clicks of anything.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, we're about to review Doom: The Dark Ages. But before that, we have a word from our sponsor, L to the S to the Cream.
LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted.
So I mentioned last week that LS Cream had a big meeting coming up. That meeting is happening like right now. Literally like right now. And so if everyone right now can just cross their fingers and hope that their meeting goes well, it literally is like the biggest meeting they've ever had as far as their brand is concerned. So keep your fingers crossed that meeting goes well. Hopefully they can start selling in America without basically losing all their profit here in the very near future. That's what the meeting's all about. But again, go to creamls.com/sifted. They need all the help that they can get right now. Please head on over there. There's a bottle locator. You can find out how to get it locally. You can figure out how to get it shipped to your door. I can vouch for you. I can tell you that LS Cream is absolutely amazing, mixed with pretty much anything. Go to creamls.com/sifted. Support your fellow gamers. Support your fellow sifters. Go to creamls.com/sifted. All right. Now it's time for Doom: The Dark Ages. We're going to review the new Doom that comes out on Friday. Is that correct?
I think it's the 14th.
Or is it Thursday?
I think it's tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. So you only got one day
you get 2
days of early access. If you want to pay extra, you can play it right now.
Yeah.
Bethesda sent me review codes, so I've been playing it. I'm pretty much done with it. There's 22 chapters in the game. I'm on chapter 20. I just couldn't quite get over the finish line before we came to talk about it, unfortunately. I was very close.
Yeah, I'm only on chapter 4 because I didn't realize it was early access until yesterday evening.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like, I guess I'll play some of it. So I played most of the major gameplay elements.
Yeah. Because there's like 3 tenets of the game that we'll get to here in a minute. But really, Matt, the thing that stands out the most to me about Doom: The Dark Ages that separates it from Doom from 2016 and Doom Eternal is the story.
Mm-hmm.
It
has one.
It, like, not just has one, like a big one that it beats you over the head with every like 30 or 40 minutes or so. This is, I mean, I'll say this. Slayer is still pretty much silent. He only says one word that I've seen the entire game, and that is run. There's like one scene where everything's going to hell, and someone looks at him, and he just looks at him and goes, run. And that's the only thing he says through the entire game.
No, he seems to be brainwashed through most of it.
But everybody else has plenty to say. The whole setup for the game, I describe it as kind of like Star Wars in hell.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of stuff. This is Warhammer, basically.
Yeah.
This is very Warhammer, down to chaos gods, and there's a fat technomancer guy, who's a little more Harkonnen. I guess he's more Dune than anything.
Yeah.
But no, I'm like, what? Did he end up in the fucking Warhammer 40K universe? Like, what? Or some kind of Dune?
Is this
fan
hell?
fiction?
Like, I thought hell was just a bunch of
not
fire
hell.
where people
It's
burn
not
to
hell.
death.
It's a planet. It's a planet. These things are demons, which are theoretically from hell, but who knows if you're... I mean, you're obviously not talking about the Christian hell.
Yeah.
I mean, hell is just a big place full of fire, I guess. It depends, and any whatever comes out of it is a demon.
You do, in fact, go to hell in this game,
Yeah.
I will add. And
Well, and then, the one place you're on, really looks like Mars at times. It's red. It looks red, but, it's some kind of super advanced techno medieval,
well, it's hell
Warhammer.
Hell is a place in this. It's not like this supernatural construct.
Right.
It's a physical place that you can go to and then leave and then go back to.
Well, that's always been Doom. Doom has always basically been it's it's a dimension.
Right.
It's another dimension.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, the setup for the plot is that Slayer is basically being used as a pawn by the makers.
So I never finished Eternal, like the DLC for Eternal. Does this set this up?
No, this is a prequel for 2016.
Okay.
This is a prequel. This is supposed to set up how everything started, how Doomslayer started.
So it's a setup for why he's in that stone coffin at the beginning of 2016.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a prequel to that game, basically. And so Slayer he's being used as a pawn by the makers. And
This is that Harkonnen dude. These
this is what I thought reminded me of Star Wars.
I don't think this doesn't look like Star Wars at all to me.
It's
too smooth and weird. Like the whole thing, I'm just like, oh, this is Warhammer. This is Warhammer 40K.
It looked like Star Wars to me,
with
but it doesn't matter.
Baron Harkonnen. I mean, he's not gross enough to be Baron Harkonnen or Jabba the Hutt for that matter. But he's got they're it's like that religious cult that fixes the machines in the Imperium of Man. That's what those things are. Except they don't seem to be quite so religious fanatics.
Yeah, yeah. And so anyway, there's a device that's installed over Doomslayer's heart that like is wired into his central nervous system or something, and they use that to basically, and it's perfect timing with the B-roll, to keep him trapped in this facility in this like device where they can control him using, and again, right there you can see that thing over his heart. That's what they use to control him. Now I'm not going to spoil things. I'm just going to say he's a Doomslayer, and if you think you could control him, you're probably a moron. But that's the setup for the plot.
Several of the other characters know that from the beginning too.
Yeah. Well, the truth is that like he honestly doesn't mind. Like he knows he's being used, and they're using him as a war machine, but he agrees with what they're fighting against. So for the most part, even though they think that they're controlling him, he goes along with it because he's like, yeah, I want to wipe out these people too. Eventually, they become at loggerheads with each other, and some stuff happens. I'm not going to spoil.
There's no reason to start a fight until
right
you diverge from your motivation.
Yep.
All he wants to do is rip and tear until the job is done, as we know.
Yep. And so there's a war against. They basically have a war against hell. There's a demon named Prince Azrak. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly.
It's Azrak.
It's Azrak? No, you're right. It is Azrak. Because I remember they said that. And I'm like, you mean like the old like Xbox launch game?
Yeah, I thought that too. But then there's at some point they spelled the name. It's like one of the codecs.
Ahzrak.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's Azrak.
Yeah.
Sure. But it is very similar to that Xbox launch game nobody remembers.
Yeah. And his goal, like every goal for every bad person, is to gain ultimate power. So you're trying to stop him from gaining ultimate power and taking over hell. But the weird part to me about this whole game is how there are mines where people work, there's industry, there's traffic. It's like there's the society that's living on this hell-ripped planet where people just go about their day. It's so weird. Like,
it's not, the war isn't everywhere.
Right.
So,
but I also wonder.
Life goes on. You should see what it looks like in the Ukraine, in the West. Like it's like nothing's happening.
No, you're right. Yeah. No, in a lot of cities, it's like you wouldn't know there's a war happening.
Or the American home front during World War II.
Right.
The largest conflict in human history was happening, but basically it was like, oh, I guess I shouldn't use tires too much. Like that's about it. Like it just we can get there eventually, but like you're on the front lines here. It's just different.
And then one thing I kept thinking is, so they show a cutscene, you go play for 30 or 45 minutes, you come back, days have passed inside the game. What are these people doing? What do they do to pass their time? They're just still sitting in this weird empty room with nothing to do, nowhere to go.
They're science fiction characters. That's what they do.
They just sit in this room and just wait for him to come back for 3 days, just doing nothing. Like it's just weird. This whole story is weird.
Also, that's military life. It's just
I standing around and wait.
I had some friends who were in Afghanistan. They're like, most of what we did was just sit there.
Hurry up and wait. Yeah, that's a military phrase. A lot of people
use. The NTV production people.
Yeah.
You'd think that the commanders would have places to be or other thing, but not really. They gotta check the monitors.
Yeah.
Monitor duty.
Bottom line story, and this is really stupid. And it literally just turn your brain off. Don't think about anything. Don't try.
It's about the story level you'd expect from Doom. Except for the fact that it takes up so much time.
Right, they extrapolate it. It used to be just like Doomslayer would grunt, be like, yep, I'm going to kill a bunch of demons. That's all I need to know.
Or like in, there was a fair amount of like kind of backstory of what's happening in 2016, but it was mostly like, computer terminals you could look at or like audio messages that would play while you were killing shit. And this one, much more than the other two, really, it's fully produced cutscenes. Like you're stuck. I guess you can skip them, but you're stuck watching these little dramas play out between these characters, and you don't know who these people are or what. And the thing is, like, well, I guess they'll explain. It's like, so far they have not. Like, I still don't really know anything. I mean, obviously we're on another planet because they keep calling it the planet of Argent whatever. And it's just humans. So it's in the future, but
they got there somehow.
But the 2016 game seems to take place in like the 22nd century, and there is no interstellar colony, so he gets sent back in time. But this does seem to imply it's the ancient past, or maybe it's a different dimension. Maybe humans come from this dimension. Like, there's a whole lot of questions. I assume.
And
maybe
I'll
to
just
get
tell
to
you,
them.
most of them are never answered.
We gotta leave room for the sequel.
It is
or the DLC. There's a whole DLC coming.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I mean, it's TMI. I don't need all this information about this. I understand why Bethesda's
It is
doing
very
it.
funny that like
it's hilarious. I laughed at this plot more
it's-
than I was engrossed by it.
Yeah, well, I think that's somewhat the purpose. You know, like,
you think they?
Yeah, I mean, I
don't
again,
think so.
I think so. Like,
Really?
Again, Warhammer. One of the reasons I compare it to Warhammer is it has that same sort of overly self-serious tone that Warhammer has. And there's a reason fans of Warhammer 40K call the backstory and the lore and the novels, they call it the fluff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a reason for that, because it is just incredibly pulpy nonsense. But everybody,
And this is too.
But taking itself super seriously is sort of how it sort of gets itself over the top in being such nonsense. There's a way. It's that thing where it's like, if someone thinks is like into a really dumb thing, but they're super enthusiastic about it, you kind of will go along for the ride a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what they're trying to do here, Warhammer style. So far, not really working for me, just in the sense that there's not a lot to grab onto, and there's a lot of, especially early on when they're teaching you how to do all this stuff. I'm just like, can you just let me kill shit? Like, I don't care what the political argument is between these three factions in this place I don't know anything about, because you've started in media res, and I don't really trust you to get around to explaining what the hell is happening here. It's kind of like, Gears of War, where it's like, wait, there's humans on this other planet, and it's like, it's in the far future. We don't even remember being
Forget
on Earth.
about
Fine.
it.
You're never gonna. It's never gonna matter. But then imagine that, like, I don't know, Abraham Lincoln is in Gears of War, and you're like, how did he get to Gears? I know where you're from and what you do and where you're like, why are you in Gears of War?
Yeah.
And the game's like, we're not gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Like, one day you'll see why he's here, but maybe not this day.
I understand why Bethesda's doing it, because you have this big franchise that sells really well. You want it to be known for more than just this dude who doesn't talk. Like, you want to be able to sell merchandise. You want to be able to make a movie eventually about Doom. Like, all the accoutrements that come
and you want
along.
to justify why you're changing the setting and changing the gameplay. Why is he a barbarian knight now? I get it, but like, I don't know. Like, I don't have a better idea, but it's like,
they just shouldn't do it.
It's just weird.
It was fine the way it was. Like, they just having a little tidbit of story here and there.
Like,
that was fine.
you could just have them still doing the audio messages back and forth while you're killing shit, and not kind of like take the time up with the weird cutscenes between the missions.
Exactly. So a lot of people may watch this B-roll and say, oh, wow, Doom is now like an open world game. It is not. It is still designed basically the same as the last two Doom games, but the areas are bigger and more open. They give you more room to fight. And that's because they've basically completely changed how you fight in this game, and we'll get to that in a minute.
The enemies are bigger, too.
Yeah, they are.
Just in general, everything's bigger.
It is.
I think he's bigger.
He is,
He feels bigger.
Yeah, I think he is.
Like, it feels like really does feel like you're moving a walking tank around. Mm-hmm. Which is good.
You feel the momentum of him for sure.
Every single thing in this game is afraid of you, and they should be.
Yeah, because you're an ass kicker.
Yeah, even the enemies.
You feel like an ass kicker in this game.
There's early on, there is a scene with the prince guy, and he's like, why are you're all demons of hell. Why are you so afraid of this thing? And they're like,
just wait.
It's the Slayer. Yeah. It's like, it's like they read the marketing copy. They know that they're not going to win this.
Yep. So basically how I've played this game is I go into the area, I kill all the enemies, and when you've killed them all, because the music will stop, like every other video game.
Music stops, the portal closes, and they say, it's like, your next objective is on your headset.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know.
And then what you do is
I
you
have
go
played
back.
a video game before.
Then you turn on your map, and you go back, because the map shows pretty much everything. There's a lot of collectibles in each level.
Yeah, I haven't found almost any of them.
Start using the map and you'll get them all.
Yeah.
Because the map shows you all of them. So if I look at my missions, first 3 missions in the game, I completed like 27%.
Yeah.
Then I discovered the map, and I've been 85 or better every other mission
to be
since.
fair, the map in 2016 is similar.
Yeah.
And like once I figured out how it tracked everything, I was like, oh, I don't need a guide for this. I can just find shit.
Yeah, there's so much stuff.
This feels, I mean, maybe it's just because the 2016 one was actually pretty vertical at times. This one is not as vertical, and it's much
really
easier to read everything.
Yep, for sure.
It's a good map. It's a good map system.
And the game is linear. Like, you proceed, the missions are always in the same exact order. You can go back and play them again if you want to, but they proceed in the same exact order. You can't flip your objectives and try to do this objective and go back and tackle this other one. It is completely linear. However, there are challenges that you can complete out in the worlds. And a lot of them are just like, use this weapon 5 times, or kill this enemy a specific way 10 times, and you'll get extra challenges or complete extra challenges that way, and that gives you extra gold. Now, gold and rubies are what you use to upgrade your weapons, and you can only do that at specific stations, which I found to be very annoying. But you come across these stations and you can upgrade your weapons. There's a shotgun, there's the impaler, the accelerator, the pulverizer, the chain shot, grenade launcher, a rocket launcher, of course, with a BFG. And then there's 2 variations of each one of those base weapons. And you can really play this how you want to. I just use a shotgun. Seriously, once I got the super shotgun and started powering it up, I had no reason to use any other weapon in the game, other than just for fun.
I have killed 80% of the things in this game with melee.
With melee.
Using
the gauntlets.
Melee and the shield.
Yeah.
You don't need guns in this game, really.
I hardly ever shoot. I use them to finish off.
I have the plasma gun to sort of deal with the shield guys, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's pretty friendly, however you want to play it.
So there's alternate versions of each weapon, but now the weapons do not have an alt fire option like they did in the last couple games. So they traded off a couple things there.
Which I have not missed so far.
I haven't either.
They seem to kind of just do more things in general.
Yep.
They have more environmental, or like the guys with the energy shields. You shoot them with the plasma gun, the energy shield overloads and blows up and kills all of them.
Yeah.
Use the other thing and the projectile weapons, and they heat the shield up, and then you hit their shield up and you throw their shield and it breaks their shield and kills them, and then they explode and kill everybody around them. It's there's a lot of chain reacting that you can do with the weapons. So
it's insane.
You don't really need to kill everybody with the weapons. You can use their sort of effects to just wipe things out, tangentially, and it feels very good.
It does. The shield is the biggest change to this game, without a doubt, and you can upgrade that with these runes that you get, though that takes a while.
Okay, fucking Coppola's Dracula guy. Look at that dude.
It takes a long time, but eventually you get this ability to attach runes to the shield, and then that gives it these crazy alternate abilities. Like the one I have attached right now to my shield is this little turret that pops up out of the shield and just starts shooting enemies, like on auto-targeting. But there's 3 different ones, and then those also have different upgrades to those. So there's a lot of upgrading going on in this game, and that's why you have to collect so much stuff when you play through the levels. There's 3 melee weapons. Matt was talking about the power gauntlet. That's the first one you get. And the second one you get...
A power gauntlet is interesting to me in the sense that they gave it ammo. Like you have 3
charges.
3 charges that come back on their own, or you can earn more, or you can pick up charges. But having just replayed 2016 one a while ago, it solves the issue of how, in that game, you tend to use the melee attacks to sort of save ammo,
right,
and hit things that are not worth
using
with fully. And in this, because you're going to use up a charge of the punch that you could maybe need against a bigger enemy, you don't use the melee against the little guys.
You use the shield. You throw the shield.
Yeah. So they force you into using the shield as a more energy and ammo efficient option, which I thought was actually some pretty smart design.
I agree. Yep, I definitely agree with that. So yeah, there's 3 melee weapons. There's the power gauntlet. There's the flail, which is what I ended up using pretty much all the way to the end of the game. It's just a spiked ball on the end of a chain, if you don't know what a flail is. And each one of these, you level up 5 or 6 different levels with the gold and the rubies that you've earned playing through the campaign. So again, it's very important to make sure you go and collect that stuff. Use the map. Use the map. Use the map. That's all I'm going to say. And then the third one I'm not going to ruin for you, the third melee weapon. But you can upgrade, improve, and modify the armor, health, gun, shield, and the melee weapons. Like I said, there are alternate versions of each weapon. Once I got the shotgun and turned it into the super shotgun, I never looked back. I get a new weapon, I try it out for 10 minutes just to try it out and see what it does. There are some cool weapons in this. There's one gun that you put a skull in, and it breaks up the skull, and then it shoots skull fragments. There's some pretty creative stuff in this, but as far as just functionality is concerned, the shotgun is really all you need, and I think most people who play Doom have an affinity for the shotgun anyway, because it's kind of the most iconic weapon from the Doom series in general.
Other than the BFG.
Right. BFG would be the top for sure. But a lot of people never see the BFG because they don't make it all the way to the end of Doom games.
Well, you definitely use the shotgun more.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of ammo.
Yep. Yeah, so like when you upgrade weapons, it'll make them more powerful. It'll make them so they can carry more ammo. Sometimes it'll add an augment to like your shield. Like for example, one of the things that you can do with the shield is you can counterattack. And later on in the game, it becomes very powerful if you power up the right ability. So you see the red and green attacks coming at you. You can't parry the red attacks, but you can parry the green ones. And so if you block with the shield, as that green attack gets to you, it volleys it back at the enemies. And at first you get that ability, it doesn't seem all that powerful. Later on in the game, it just wrecks shop. You can get to the point where you reflect one volley and stun like 10 enemies that just are standing there stunned. You can just wipe them out.
What you just did there is one of my complaints about the game presentationally is when you killed all the guys with a shield, like you broke
the shield
their shields,
charge, yeah.
And then when you do that, you get armor fragments,
yeah,
and all the armor fragments fly into you. And the sound effect they use for the armor fragments is that kind of like that sound.
Yeah.
And when all of them get sucked in at once, it makes this horrible static sound that makes it sound like your speakers are dying.
Oh, that may have been your controller speaker, because there's something wrong. Oh, you don't. There's something wrong with this game where the audio coming through the controller speaker is way too loud. I went into the options and turned my controller speaker down to 1 out of like 10, and it still was so loud that it distorted. So there's some kind of a bug going on.
I'm playing it on PC using an Xbox Elite controller, and all that sound on top of itself like 12 times like makes this horrible. It's like I thought my like the sound was glitching out.
Yeah.
Like it sounds wrong.
I actually think it feels rewarding.
Soundwizardry.com would have prevented that.
You're probably right.
I'm just saying.
Yep, you're probably right. So we mentioned it earlier, there are 3 gameplay types. There's the combat stuff. You've been seeing in most of this B-roll, but eventually you're about to see the other 2. There are kaiju sections where you are in this huge power suit and you fight against these gigantic creatures, and most of that's just melee. And then eventually you do get a gun as well that you use in that that big mech suit. And so it's just kind of like a King Kong, Godzilla type thing, and they don't happen that often. It's like the 3rd or 4th mission, and then it doesn't come back until I think it's like the 15th or 16th mission. So you only do these things a couple times throughout the game. I would argue I'd like to see them more often. The 3rd type are these flying sections. You saw it in the first trailer for this game where you're flying on a dragon. Well, first of all, the dragon's awesome. It's like half mech, half dragon or whatever. And basically there are these open air flying missions that you take on where you fly around this kind of city floating in space, and you have to take out a bunch of tentacles. You have to fly into the heart of the city and then take out these things in the center. Generally, though, I thought they were fun. I thought that the dragon controlled really well. I thought the controls for firing and shooting were really good. I had fun with it. I wouldn't want to play a whole game like that, but I thought it was fun for the while it lasted to break up the combat, because the other thing I'm going to say is that the combat does get monotonous in this game. Again, I'm pretty much done with it. And for the first 10 hours or so, I didn't really get burnt out on it or sick of it. But once you get to mission probably 12 or 13, you kind of have everything at that point that you're going to have through the game. And it does kind of turn into a loop at that point. You kind of have all the weapons. You're kind of maxed out with all your power-ups and going to the machines and powering up your weapons and everything. You've kind of maxed all this stuff out. And it just becomes kind of monotonous at that point. So I appreciate the kaiju sections and the flying sections more than I thought I would. I knew they were in there before I played it. I didn't think I was going to like them. I do, in fact, like them. And I think they're a good way to break up sort of the gunplay and the, honestly, melee play. Because to your point, Matt, you really can just melee your way through this whole game if you want to.
Yeah.
I powered up my flail. That's the first thing I did. I just used all my points to power up my flail all the way, and it just wrecks shop. I just walk up to an enemy and just click the right stick 3 times, and they're pretty much dead. You're right. You don't have to use the gun, but sometimes I just use the gun for fun.
No, the gun's useful to soften things up or to hit things from a distance, but really you're just parrying and punching.
Pretty much.
Or whatever.
Because your shield has so you can charge with the shield. So an enemy can be 100 yards away. You can click both shoulder buttons, the bottom ones, and you just fly at the enemy, and it does major damage. For the first 2 hours of the game, that's how I played the game. I just kept using the shield charge over and over again.
Well, because the shield charge also has like an AoE effect. So like if it's like a bunch of any kind of normal enemies, you do that to a group of them, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Like it's over.
And it's very satisfying to jump from a cliff down like 300 feet and do that shield charge on the ground and just send all the enemies dead, dying, and flying into the air. It just feels really, really good. The shield makes this game. There's no doubt about it. This game would not be half the game it is without the shield. It really, I hope they never take it away and it stays in Doom games for forever as far as I'm concerned. It really changes how you play the game in a good way. As far as why you are in combat, you have armor and health to manage, and that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of minutia in this. And Matt, I never had to worry about ever running out of ammo, not even once.
No, there's a number of ways to get. I mean, the ammo's pretty plentiful anyway, but if you kill an enemy when it's got the purple on it, like gets stunned for purple, you click the right stick to do the finisher, and the finisher drops a little bit of health and ammo for all your weapons.
Yep.
So you're as long as you're varying up sort of how you're, if you're not just endlessly shooting, if you're, taking the time to sort of like, oh, I'm running low on this, so I better like kill somebody with a purple. Like it gives you more than enough. I mean, we just watched this footage here a little earlier. You were down to like 5 health, and then like you killed 2 guys, and suddenly you were at 115.
Yeah.
It was like, as long as you know the mechanics, you can get through just about anything.
You learn not to freak out.
Yeah.
Because all you got to do is kill one enemy and you're going to have half your health back.
Yeah, and here you have 15 health, but like there's plenty of things you can
I'm
do
not
to
even
solve
sweating
that problem.
it. Yeah, not even sweating it at all. Sometimes there's just tons of health pickups. Like like I have died in this a bunch of times, but as I mentioned,
Right there, you do that, and everybody now you're 55.
Yeah.
Just a couple of shield tosses.
Yeah.
And
here
there's
you're seeing
your
me
parry.
you're reflecting.
And you can block the red as well. It just doesn't.
Oh, you
reflect
can? Yeah,
back.
it won't reflect.
Doesn't
back.
reflect back, and if you do it too much, it'll get through. But like if in a pinch, you can block red, and just I just need to block this thing to get to this fucker, and like that'll work too.
And so that enemy that you just saw me fight right there, he's a special type of enemy. Some enemies in the game, you have to defeat all the other enemies in the area first before their shield goes down. So after you kill all the other enemies, their shield comes down, then you can fight sort of the mini boss in that area. And when you do, you see when you finish them off, you get that cutscene where you reach into their heart and you rip their heart out. And then that will permanently increase some attribute for you permanently. Your maximum health, your maximum armor, stuff like that. And so you learn very quickly, like, just go for the big guys, take those out, the shield will come down, then you can attack the big guy. Now we're getting our first look at the kaiju battles. It's mostly just like spam R2. Once the yellow meter gets full, then you hit R1 and you can do like a crazy sonic punch or a kick or whatever and finish them off, basically. The window to dodge in this is the widest window you will ever find.
Yeah, it's no Sekiro.
It's definitely not. Like, they really err on the side of caution in these sections of the game. Like, they really are just like, we just want you to have fun and not die in this. And you'd have to you almost have to try to die in these sections of the game.
And there's some pretty impressive, like, you rip pieces and flesh off these things, and they all and it's all related to where you're hitting them. So like the damage on these things is actually accurate to where you're punching. As you can see there, you've taken off his ribs where you hit him with the left. You took all the flesh off his left arm with your right hand punch. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
That makes it feel like it makes it feel less like a cutscene, which it could have.
Combat in this game is fun as hell, but I'm just telling you, like, the game is like 25 hours.
Yeah, that's
long.
all it is. I mean, you kind of know. I mean, it's interesting that, like, Eternal doesn't have that problem so much because the combat is so skill driven,
right?
Which again, I don't like it as much as
well, I mean, it's vertical, and the traversal's a big deal.
It's just like you're working harder and you're thinking more in Eternal. I think if you're a big fan of Eternal, you're not going to be as thrilled with this.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah,
it's a return to 2016, which I prefer, so I am pretty thrilled with this.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, just if you're an Eternal stan, I would approach this with more caution.
Yeah,
because it is not.
It's not Eternal 2.
It's not Eternal at all.
Yeah, it's 2016 2, basically.
Yeah.
It's like they're acting like Eternal never happened.
They really are.
They kind of are. But yeah, the shield is really what flips this game on its head. Like, I learned, like, there's a pattern that I follow pretty much every time. So I come into battle, I throw the shield first. Because what happens is, when you throw the shield, it sticks in the enemy and it pauses them. So when I go into battle, I find the toughest enemy, I throw the shield. That pauses them for a good, and you can upgrade that as the game goes on. Eventually, you can pause them for like a good 10 or 15 seconds. Beginning of the game, it's like 5 or 7 or whatever. But that gives you enough time to kind of kill all the smaller, weaker guys. By the time he unfreezes, you're ready to turn your attention to them, and that's when I start unloading with the flail, with the melee.
The shield thing actually reminds me of in the first Thor movie where he just puts the hammer on Loki to like go do something else.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's
like, you stay there for a second. I'm going to deal with this shit.
It makes a huge difference to the combats. And it does make it, for the first like 10 or 15 hours, it really makes it feel like something new and fresh and unique.
Well, that's the thing. I think every time, for the first 3 or 4 missions, they're just constantly throwing new abilities and new weapons and new items at you.
Yeah.
And every time they did, I'm like, I said, oh, that's cool. Like there was nothing that was like, that's a dumb. When am I ever going to do that? It's like, oh, it was like always like, oh, that's cool. Like,
and I'm going to use that.
Yeah. I like that, Johnny. I'm going to use that. Make his knuckles bleed. It was. I think that's probably the best way to summarize this game in general. It's cool.
It is cool. It's cool and it's fun.
Cool. It's cool the way a heavy metal album cover is.
Yeah,
cool.
it is. It really is. Another change that they made from Doom Eternal is that, remember in that game, you needed to use a specific weapon to kill some enemies. Like, you literally couldn't kill them unless you had that weapon. That's all gone. You can kill every enemy with every weapon in this game, which I think is also an improvement.
There are obviously better weapons to use for, they're weak to certain things, but yeah, there are no limits, and that was a very annoying part.
I hated that about Eternal.
Same.
And I didn't hate much about Eternal, but that was one of the things that I did not like.
Yeah, hate is a strong word, but I would apply it to that part of Eternal.
Yeah. And then the difficulty. So it defaults
to
the easiest. So I started looking, there's like 6 of them or something.
Yeah, but really there's only 4.
Right.
Because the 2 after that are basically like permadeath.
Right. So the second one is the one that said the default difficulty.
Hurt Me Plenty is the default Doom difficulty.
And I chose that one, and it is way too easy.
It is very easy, yes.
Definitely bump it up one more.
If you're good at first-person games, you should probably play the third one.
Yep, I would recommend the 3rd difficulty setting. But I did play it on default the whole way through. That's what we do, because we create sort of a mean here for how we review games. I did play it all the way through. I don't know if I even died the last 7 missions of the game.
In this game, in the second mission, I never got hit.
Really?
I had full health and armor the whole time.
Wow.
And I'm like, maybe I should bump this up a little bit. But we'll see. Maybe it's it's tutorial mission.
Right.
It's not supposed to be hard. And I did get beat up in the third.
Yeah, I still have died a bunch of times. Like, it just happens. Sometimes you get caught in a corner or whatever.
I haven't died yet, but I did get to the first room where there was a bunch of strong enemies. I'm like, oh wow, oh hey, okay,
I gotta pay attention
I'm dying
now.
Here. I was like, oh, I better go do something. I gotta use my abilities. I was surprised to run into resistance.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, too, is that, the game gives you plenty of options to tune it exactly how you want it.
Oh, yeah.
You can literally set up almost anything. Enemy aggression, damage output.
There's 5 or 6 options for your parry window timing.
Yeah, you can set it up however you want, which is great. So even if it is a little too easy on the default setting.
Which weapons auto-switch, whether they switch when you run out of ammo, which direction they switch, what happens when you pick a weapon. It's not just accessibility friendly. It's how you want to play friendly. It's very good.
Yep.
I mean, more options is always better.
Yep. So I played this on So I played this on PS5, and I was using the DualSense controller. It's incredible. You really feel the difference between every weapon with the haptic feedback on the controller. I mentioned it earlier, though. There's something wrong. There's some kind of a bug. When you do certain things in this game, the speaker and the controller just goes full bore. So bad that it's so distorted, you can't even tell what it's doing or saying.
To the point, you worry about the speaker.
Right. It may blow out the speaker. So that's something that they got to fix. I don't know what the hell happened there, but that's
weird.
It is very weird. And
because you think you'd notice that in testing.
Well, I went into the settings on the PS5 and turned my speaker down almost all the way. It was 1 notch from 0, still completely blowing out the speaker. So that's an issue, but the haptic feedback feels great in this, actually. Also, the music in this is eclectic.
Yeah, that's true.
It goes all over the place. It's not
just the doom.
Yeah. And thank God.
Although they do have the theme
that's
in there.
It's
in there.
And there are songs like that in there, but it really runs the gamut. There's electronic music in here. There's industrial sounding music. There's metal, obviously. There's plenty of butt rock, but and it's all good.
No hip hop yet, though.
No, they did draw the line there.
Kind of waiting for somebody to bust out a rhyme, but it didn't happen.
Yep.
I feel like you could do that in the mech.
Yeah,
the mech should be the hip hop section.
I was really pleasantly surprised by the music in this. Like, I really was like, wow, that's way, way better. And I'm just used to it just being metal, like, the whole way through. And they really found, like, even there's some ambient stuff in there here and there that I was like, damn, okay. But yeah, I guess what I would say is crank up the difficulty some, because there's lots of granular options to get that exactly how you want to.
And there's you know, the ultimate difficulty, and then there's two more passive. One of them is because in the game you pick up these life sigils, and if you do die, you basically get back up.
Yeah, and also, by the way, use those, because I never use them, and then I realized they're freaking everywhere.
Yeah,
once I started using the map, you can find like 2 or 3 of those every single mission.
And so in the higher difficulty stuff, like it's the same as the max difficulty, except the first one, the life sigils basically let you restart the chapter, which is restart the mission, and in the final difficulty, it's permadeath. If you die, your save is erased. And it's this, but both of those are the same. But both of those are the same difficulty as max difficulty. They just add the Iron Man section element to it.
But generally, it's easier than the last 2 Doom games.
Yeah.
On that same setting, I struggled sometimes on the prior games, not on this one.
Yeah, I never struggled too much on 2016, except when you would. There's just so many more ways to earn health in this one. There were times in 2016 where like, well, I can't. I'm stuck. I gotta get through this and not get hit.
Yeah.
And in this one, that's not really a thing that we run into much.
Yeah. Yep. So I really enjoyed this game.
Yeah.
I would definitely.
I'm very early in it, but it's definitely exactly what I thought it was going to be.
I mean,
and
it's
exactly
not
what I wanted
because
to be.
the shield's way better than I thought it was going to be.
It's about what I was hoping it would be.
Yeah. I mean, this is like a really good Iron Man game in some ways.
Yeah, or a really good Captain America game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, Captain America. Yeah. I mean, it really is. Like, they should take some lessons from this game to incorporate into any future Captain America appearances.
Maybe that's why the game got delayed.
Maybe. What, Marvel 1943? they played Doom, the Dark Ages, and we're like, wait a minute.
Amy's like, we're changing it. We're changing all of it.
But look, I will say this.
He's fighting Mephisto now. Let's go.
Part of this job is playing games like this in like 1 or 2 sittings. And you do learn over time as you keep doing it for years and years to account for that and understand it, like, hey, this is getting monotonous to me. But I just sat here and played this for like 10 hours straight.
Like a normal person can just
play it to an hour and go do something else. So you do learn.
You have to finish it because you have a deadline.
Yeah. Well, all that considered, this game still does get monotonous. Like I said, you get to like hour 10, 12. You still got another like 10 hours to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Doom.
Yeah.
That was true of Doom 1
as
well.
I do just wonder if maybe it's a little bit longer than it should be. But again, I think the average player who plays this like an hour when they come home from work every night will never notice it. And they'll just be like, hot damn, every time I play this game, it melts my face off. And I freaking love every second of it. And so again, like if you do this for a long time, you learn to look past that and kind of understand what the average player is going to experience when they play these games. And so I've done that with this, but I still do think that the average player, if they do decide to like, hey, it's Saturday, I'm going to sit down and play Doom, the Dark Ages for 4 or 5 hours. I do think by the time you get to that 4th or 5th hour, you'll start to wear a little thin on it. Like if you do it all in a row.
I mean, you can only eat so much cake.
Pretty much, yeah. But this is awesome. Like if I'm ranking the 3 Doom reboots, this might be the best one.
It's this or 2016, and the combat mechanics of this are better than 2016's.
I agree.
The only reason I think you might prefer 2016 is if you're some kind of Doom purist.
Right.
To you, Doom has to be fighting demons on Mars with a shotgun. Like, yeah, that's 2016. But this is like, I think this is the closest they've gotten to sort of the promise of that heavy metal cover that the name Doom and the cover art of that original game really indicates.
Yeah.
This is exactly what you think it is, and it's exactly as good or bad as you think that would be.
Yeah, I mean, if you watched our B-roll that we showed you actually we showed it twice, and you watched that combat, me and doing the combat, and that looks exciting to you,
you'll like it.
You'll like it.
If you watched it and you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen,
you won't like it.
Maybe you don't.
Go on Game Pass.
But it's Game Pass, so you're fine.
So this game is $70. I would say, yeah, I'd spend $70 on this game. I'd have no problem with recommending this for $70, but I'm gonna tell you to go get Game Pass. Like, seriously. And this game also, like, you could probably even play this on Game Pass, like, streaming. Like, you wouldn't even, like, it's the windows that you need for the parries. It's not like Dark Souls or something.
Unless you're playing on the high difficulty, because the higher difficulties do shrink the parry window.
Yeah, and you can even shrink it yourself if you want to. But yeah,
and I would argue that if you're experienced in like From Software games, you might want to shrink the parry window, because it was throwing me off how wide it was.
Yeah,
like I was trying to, and eventually I realized, like, oh, I could just like literally the parry window was like 2 seconds bigger than I thought it was. And I'm like, oh, I can just do that when it's like 40 meters away. Yeah. I'm like, okay, like, sure. And like, it just felt weird to me.
Well, eventually, unlike the Souls games, you start getting attacked by multiple people, and you got those coming from like 4 different angles at once. And it's like, it's not like From Software games where generally you just fight one dude at a time. It's like mano a mano. In this, you are getting crossfire, so
much more generous than Expedition 33.
Yes. Without a doubt. And that was the thing. I was coming from that game to this one, and I'm thinking I got to time it exactly. Yeah. I started getting lazy with it, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I can be real lazy with this. Like,
they could have used this dude.
Yeah, seriously.
Motherfucker would have found the paintress in 10 minutes flat.
So anyway, I really liked Doom: The Dark Ages. I would definitely recommend, if someone's into Doom and into shooters, that buying it for $70, totally cool. I would have no problem with that at all. But I would also recommend, like, get it on Game Pass if you can. If you got an Xbox.
There's no reason to do that unless you really feel the need to support Doom somehow.
Yeah.
Or I guess if you want to play it today.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, the vast majority of people watching this show right now, whether you're with us live here on Twitch, or you're watching the archive on SIFTD or on YouTube, is like, they're not that way. So it's
a very, very worthy Game Pass install.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, most people are going to have a PS5. They're not going to be able to play it on Game Pass, so... and I would have no issues with you spending the full $70.
No, like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Let's check in with chat and see if you guys have any questions about the game. As always, go at SIFTD Games so we can see it from all the other conversation. Drifter J, if you like Space Marine 2, is this similar with the enemy interactions? No.
No, I wouldn't make that comparison.
No, I can see why you might say that.
Yeah,
though.
Other than the Warhammer sort of parallels in terms of the setting.
Yeah, but the gameplay feels nothing
100%,
like
100% completely different.
The combat in this, way better than the combat in Space Marine 2, in my opinion anyway.
I think they're different.
They're way different.
I wouldn't really compare them.
Yeah.
Like the Space Marine combat is more tactical, I would argue. Like, you're vulnerable in Space Marine.
Yeah, you're right.
You are kind of a god in
and you feel like it in this, and they treat you like a god in the game.
Like every step you take shakes the controller and the screen. Like, he is a walking, he's death incarnate.
It's like, even if you jump down from a platform that's like 20 feet, he lands and it kills people.
It kills everything. Yeah, it shakes the ground and it kills anything like 20 feet around him.
You feel badass in this game. There's no denying it, for sure. Noxatornitis says, good on you. Most reviewers never acknowledge that they play games in very unusual situations. Well, look, man, I've been doing this for like 30 years. If I haven't figured that out by now, I'm an idiot. So thank you, but like...
I got bad news for you about a lot of other game reviewers.
Yeah, maybe. Vincent says, do you think the large parry window, easier difficulty, was influenced by Game Pass streaming? If I remember correctly, it's the first Doom developed entirely under Microsoft. It's possible.
Could be.
I mean, I never really thought about Microsoft sort of engineering games to be playable on Game Pass streaming instead of...
Probably not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so.
I don't think that's happening very often, but...
It's
accurate, though.
I've played games that involve parrying with people who are not, big gamers, and I think it was influenced by the fact that a lot of people just can't fucking do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
like to the degree that you'd be like, are you okay that you can't do that? It's like, there's just some people just don't have any experience with that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and they want everybody to be able to play Doom.
Yeah.
So,
and we should have mentioned there's no multiplayer, but I think most people know that already. But they did make the campaign longer because there is no multiplayer.
That's what Quake is for.
Right.
Which apparently they were going to do a Quake, and they didn't.
I never cared about the Doom multiplayer anyway.
No,
in these games. I never even used it, so... Erebus says, Doom plus Game Pass, there was never any doubt it was getting played. Glad it's reviewed well, though. Yep. Cinetyke, I was already sold on the game, so no question, just want to find time to play the game. Yep. And again, it is pretty beefy. I'm like over 20 hours at this point playing a Doom game. It's pretty crazy.
And there's campaign DLC coming too. So
Yeah, and I haven't died many times. Like I haven't had to replay sections of the game all that much. And when I did die, like the auto saves are very generous. Like you're never playing huge sections of the game over again. But here's the thing too, as you get good at the game, like I remember when the first few hours I was playing it, I'd come and see an area full of enemies and I'd be like, oh God. And then by the time like I got to the end of the game, I just looked up, just like, I'm going to slay all you dudes in like 90 seconds. Like you start to get really good at crowd control, weaving through their shots while you're still fighting. Like it's great. I had a lot of fun playing this game. Then Fire Native says, this is dialogue from the game to confirm the Slayer's power level. If he gets that relic, he will have the power
of a god.
Power of a god. He will almost be as powerful as you, referring to the Slayer. Yeah. Yep. I mean, everybody knows you're a badass. Yeah. Everywhere you go, people are like,
I don't think it's ever really been explained why he's so powerful.
No.
But
and they don't explain it in this really either.
I mean, in the old canon, I don't know if how much the old games canonize what compared to the new stuff, but like originally it was because they killed his pet rabbit.
For real?
That was what it was revealed in Doom 2, I think. Was when the demons invaded Mars, they killed his pet rabbit, and that's why he's so mad.
Wow.
He was the original John Wick.
Well, you figure if you're on Mars, you're probably not getting another rabbit.
You're not finding another rabbit, no.
Actually, I could maybe see why that might piss you off a good bit. Yeah, so anyway, it's a fun game. Is it still Doom? I think so.
Yeah, it's recognizable.
Yeah, I don't think it's changed so much that I'm like, what is this? Like, Eth Demon, this game takes place between Doom 2 and Doom 2016. Yeah, it's a prequel to Doom 2016.
Yeah, I think Doom 3 seems to have quietly been erased from whatever.
It seems that way. Erebus says, is the idea of Doom canon taking it too seriously? Probably.
Yeah. But
I mean, look, we laughed at the story when we started reviewing it. Like, literally just turn your brain off. Don't even try to rationalize what is happening because it will make you not like the game.
None of it makes any sense even the 2016 one doesn't make it's like there's like scientists trying to justify why opening portals to hell was a good idea.
Right.
And it's just like no. I don't
scientists.
I don't think you're gonna win this one. Even if Doom Guy was interested in having an argument with you instead of just punching you until you can't move anymore.
Yep. So anyway, there you go. That is our review of Doom: The Dark Ages. Again, it's available for PC, PS5, Xbox Series, and Game Pass. It's $70. I'm totally cool with you spending $70 for it. But as always, we recommend you just spend $11 or $20 and get Game Pass for a month and play it and the other 8 games that we've been gushing over in 2025 on Game Pass. What a year for Game Pass. I mean, you literally don't really need anything else for 2025. Until June, when Death Stranding 2 comes out. And then, presumably, later in the year, hopefully, when Ghost of Yotei comes out when it's supposed to, which I'm still not 100% convinced is going to happen, but we'll see. So anyway, there you go. That's Doom: The Dark Ages. Next up, we're going to talk about Mafia: The Old Country. They Take-Two and Hangar 13 did a big blowout of the game. Did not really let the press preview it, though. Usually when this stuff happens, like you see press previews come alongside. Didn't allow that, which makes me a little bit nervous. What also makes me nervous is that they didn't show off like a lot of the combat or honestly a lot of gameplay. They talked about it a lot, but they didn't show it a lot, which makes me a little bit nervous because this game is coming out on August 8th. Now, one thing I will say is that it's selling for $50. So Hangar 13 and Take-Two has realized, like, hey, this is and this, by the way, is a linear, like, old school action adventure. There's no open world in this. There are vehicles that you drive at certain points and you ride horses at certain points, but it's like a race. It's like, hey, you start here. Now you need to get to point B. It's not like an open area where you can just run around wherever you want or ride the horses wherever you want. When you do that stuff, it's a part of the plot, and you need to get to a location as quickly as possible. It's not just like, hey, ride around this open world on your horse. That's not how this game works. And I think probably the game is going to be a little bit shorter because of that, and I think that's why they've decided to price it at that $50 price point. I would be happy if other publishers started looking at games this way and started selling their games for $50. Keep in mind, by the way, Take-Two is the first publisher to jump games up to $70 with NBA 2K. And so for it to sell this for $50, it's equal parts exciting and
trash.
I know. I mean, it does make me a little bit nervous. I'm just saying. But so anyway, they blew this out with a brand new trailer, and they did a big developer doc where the developers just sat there and talked about the game. This is the origin story for the Mafia franchise. It is set in 1900 Sicily. So as you see, I think they said in the presentation, like, your skill with the switchblade was your mark as a man or something like that. Like, stiletto knives and switchblades, like, your skills with that made a big difference apparently back in 1900 Sicily.
There's a reason there was an Italian stereotype in those old Cold War movies of stilettos.
Right, you're right, actually.
Comes from that.
Yeah. Now, they did admit that the focus on this game is storytelling. That is their first thing. The gameplay takes a back seat.
It feels like a return to Mafia 1 and 2.
They said that as well.
Like, I know that 1 and 2 do have recreations of New York in them, but you never do anything in them.
Yeah.
They're literally just ways to get from point A to point B. There's no open world activities. There's no reason to explore New York in those games.
Yeah. Now, the setting in this is mostly rural. There's no big city that you go to pretty much at all. And that is a big change.
Yeah, it's Sicily in 1900.
Right.
Where would you go?
I mean, Rome, I guess.
That's a long way to go.
That is a long way to go. Yeah, and you have to get on ships. And yep. So anyway, their focus has been on the narrative, and the gameplay kind of takes a back seat, but they said that the focus on the story allows them to deliver a better story. And the linear nature of the game allows them, they said anyway, to be a little more generous with things like plot twists, knowing that every player's experience will be mostly the same. They expressed some frustration with trying to do stuff like that in an open world game where you never know what the player has just experienced and what they're feeling emotionally before something like that happens. They feel like they can control the emotions of the player better with a linear game, which I agree with, but I think good developers have also learned how to do that with open world games as well.
I assume you're playing as like the guy who's like the boss you work for in the first game?
No, you don't.
Like,
so you're just some street
originals?
ruffian basically who gets mixed up with the mob, and they invite you in, and you decide to go through with the blood oath, and you become a part.
Right, but by the end of the game you're like somebody.
The Dawn?
You're probably going to America to start the franchise
Maybe.
or something, right?
Yeah.
Because the original Mafia takes place in like 1935 or something like
so,
that.
I mean, you're probably
You'd
right.
have been the right age to be one of those characters. I don't remember the characters in Mafia 1 well enough.
I don't either. Yeah.
I played the remaster a couple of years ago when I got it for like $9 or something for the whole trilogy or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I one thing that I kind of missed was like one of the things I liked about the original Mafia was like they had this weird cigarette smoking tech, and the smoke had a very specific, distinct, weird look to it, and I always associate it with Mafia. And in the remakes, they've like redone that with like normal cigarette, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't look like Mafia smoke anymore. I like the weird cigarette smoke.
Well, that's where Bethesda was smart with the Oblivion remaster. It kept the quirky stuff in there.
The quirks make the game. Yeah,
it gives it its personality for sure. So as we said, knives are a big part, but guns are also a thing here too. I don't know how you make knives such a big part of something when guns already existed and most people had them, but somehow they're going to make it work. But it's weird seeing knives and guns be such a big deal.
Well, it's because in a setting like this, especially at the time, like you're talking about a much smaller area. You're talking about a much smaller like community. You're talking about people that know each other. Or you probably know the relatives of a lot of these people. You're not going to want to instantly kill people right away.
Yeah.
There's a consequence to that.
Well, as you can see, also a good portion of the game is stealth, and where you're just using your knife basically to assassinate people. And that may be a way that they keep the dichotomy of the guns and knives at bay is by making you do a lot of stealth.
Well, also, like a lot of the killing seems to be occupying soldiers and stuff. So that's not no problem shooting those guys. But you're probably not going to want to shoot your friend's cousin.
Right.
Yeah. At least if you stab him to death in a stiletto duel, there's some honor to it.
That's true, actually. Funny but true. This game was built on Unreal Engine 5. Now that it used to be that was like, oh, that means it's like next gen. Now it means that it might stutter. It's so funny how our impressions of that have changed over the last few years. But they said their goal with making this game was to make you feel like you're playing a classic mob movie. And they said they watched every mob movie ever made, and they went to Sicily and talked to a bunch of old people who were at least like around when that stuff happened, but not really.
We knew people who knew people.
They'd have to be 140 years old at this point for that to actually happen. But they said that they want to make sure that they nail the immersion and the authenticity. And they said that that's a little bit more difficult in a rural city like Sicily, but that is where the Mafia began, and that's why they've decided to do the origin story here. The protagonist's name is Enzo Navarra, another Enzo. he grew up working in a mine as a laborer. He turns to crime to make something of himself, and then ultimately he commits to the family. He swears the oath. And I guess the big thing was he never had a family before, and that's why he resonates with the mob, because he feels like he's finally found his family.
I mean, that's literally the plot of Mafia 1
It
as
is.
well. It's like that guy has no family either, and he finds one.
Yep. So combat, you've already seen a bunch.
Not the family I'd want to find, lad. Really,
Definitely not. We talked about the knives in the combat already, but there's cover shooting, mixed with beautiful cinematics. There's driving sections in cars and on horseback. They said they want to make it a roller coaster of combat, chases, and shocking story moments. And that's what it really looks like based upon the B-roll that they put out so far. Again, and they reiterated over and over how important the knife was and how important Enzo's knife skills are, as far as him becoming a part of the mob even, that they kind of measured him on his ability with the knife. So, a different time, to be sure. Yeah, I get, and they said that their other big goal is basically to make sure that this game feels like unlike any game you've ever played before. They said they want to make sure that when you play Mafia, the old country, that it doesn't feel like any other Mafia game and it doesn't feel like any other game. And I'll just be honest, Matt, looking at what they put out for it so far, they're probably right. Really, what other games have you played like this?
All of them?
I mean, you think the Mafia games are like this?
I mean, not the Mafia game, but like I have ridden horses in a chase and fired guns from cars and fought people with knives a lot of times in video games. Like, there's nothing that looks particularly special about
I mean, knife fights? I don't remember too many knife fights.
There's been knife fight. I mean, there's use the hidden blade in Assassin's Creed. You could use a stiletto in some of those. Like, it's not something I choose very often. I'm being forced to use it the whole game is novel, I suppose. But
well, that's why they said they went back to 1900.
I'm not really using that as a bullet point in its favor necessarily. Like, I don't really think this is a very interesting setting or story option.
I think most people are feeling that way, honestly. That it just seems kind of drab and boring.
Like, because it's the origins. Like, I more or less know how that worked. They end up coming to America, and then The Godfather happens. Like, and that to me is the interest as an American. That to me is the interesting part, because that's the mafia stuff I understand and have like that kind of history with because of Francis Ford Coppola mostly, but like.
They are a European studio.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I this doesn't look particularly different or interesting or special to me. Every single gameplay element I see here is something I've done 1,000 times. I've shot lanterns to set people on fire. I have taken headshots. I have stabbed people from behind. I have thrown knives at people in stealth situations. I have played horrible old school car racing in other Mafia games for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think their purpose with making this game, or at least one of their goals, was that it's like, yeah, you may have done that stuff in other games, but other games move on to other things. That's what this game is, I think, is what they're trying to say.
So
and whether you like that or not,
our game is just a bunch of stuff that is only a minor part of other games. Is maybe not the swag you think it is there.
I mean, honestly, this probably should have been nipped in the bud by Take-Two or 2K.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
they should have been like, no, we're not greenlighting this.
Like, I like the Mafia games for the most part, but like, I was kind of interested in Mafia 3. I think had, was an interesting story, very well done characters. It stumbled where like the open world just was too repetitive and it was full of filler, and it wasn't interesting to keep doing all the like every activity in that game. You had to do it like 80 times. It was crazy. But it was a good setting. It was good characters. It was an interesting idea. And I was kind of hoping it would like evolve in that direction and sort of fine tune that formula. And instead, they're just sort of doing what looks like almost like we're doing like a Telltale game with more action sequences in Sicily in 1900 is not okay. I mean,
it looks like this might be the last Mafia game, Matt.
I mean, that's what I thought about 3
right.
as well.
Because it probably should have killed the franchise with 3.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad they didn't, but I kind of wish they'd done Mafia 4 instead of
instead of this prequel thing.
Because I mean, you could also do this, not open world, more linear, with that. But I don't see this setting resonating with a mass audience.
I don't either. Yeah,
it's
not resonating with me. I'm not excited to play this game.
It's like there's just only so much I can do with that many men in homespun shirts.
Funny. What do you guys think? I'm interested to hear your take. Are you guys excited for this game? Are any of you guys Mafia fans? Blitches9 says, why do you think the setting is less interesting than the new Yakuza period piece coming out, and they're set around the same time? I don't remember comparing this to Yakuza.
Yeah, I wouldn't compare them. And partly...
We didn't.
And partly, I think the Yakuza one is more interesting because, I don't know as much about the Yakuza origins of that time period, so I'm interested to see what a Japanese company making a game about their own country's history is going to say about that.
Yeah.
Because Hangar 13 is not
right, because a lot of times it's Western studios.
Hangar 13 is in Marin.
Right.
I don't know where they got this. And B, the Yakuza games are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And so I know that Yakuza game is not just going to be a weird historical self-serious examination of the time period and the historical origins of the Yakuza. It's going to have some wacky shit in it that's really entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't know about that with this company.
Don't think I see that in
like
the
there's
trailer.
that doesn't really happen in Mafia games in these games. Not even the one that Hangar 13 made, really.
Corey Film, thank you for Twitch Prime. Erebus says, I don't mean this as an insult, but this looks like a textbook Game Pass game. You're right, actually. I played on Game Pass, but I ain't going to pay money for it. Yeah.
I mean, it's going to live or die on the story and the characters, really, especially because of the type of game they've chosen to make. Like, I'm not going to care if the car racing or horse shooting is lackluster if I'm invested in the people that are in it, but, like, not seeing it so far.
Me either. Ashes in the Hourglass says it just looks like Uncharted. No. I think you need to watch the trailers again. Even though we just showed them like 4 times over. I don't think it's anything like Uncharted.
I mean, he is wearing kind of a similar shirt.
Yeah, and that's about where it ends. Yeah.
He has a pistol, I guess.
Yeah. And then Cinetike says, I'm not even a Mafia franchise fan, but this being so Italian, I'm very interested in checking it out since I'm from Portugal. And that's what we were saying earlier. Like, if you're from Europe, you probably have a little more interest in it than
Is there a connection to Italy with Portugal that I'm not aware of, or is that just like
I think he's just saying
you're European?
I mean, here's the thing: like people in America don't realize
like a Mediterranean
right?
thing.
Yeah. People in America don't realize that Europe, like the countries, are kind of the size of our states. Like you can go from like one country to another in like 10 hours. You can go drive through like 9 countries or whatever.
I mean, I know. I mean, I've been to Europe many times, but it's just like I just don't know if there's some kind of cultural connection between Portugal and Italy.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Other than, obviously, everybody's
Europeans
from Europe.
Yeah, and you can get to each other very quickly. I mean, it does blow my mind that back in the olden days, that these people lived very close together, but they had their own languages. I mean, that's like Tennessee having a different language from, like, Pennsylvania or whatever. Like, it just didn't happen that way here.
People do say some weird shit.
Weird dialects, and there's some words.
Johns or whatever.
John. That's from Philly, actually. Yeah. John. Yeah. I'm surprised you know John.
I only know that because I know Corb.
Oh, right. He's from Pittsburgh, though. He's not even from Philly, which is funny.
Yeah, but he knows to pretend he's from Philly.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. That's funny. Cinetike says, yeah, more of a European and Mediterranean feeling, but I am fond of opera and even visited Italy, actually. I mean, I have. I went to Italy for 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, it's friggin' amazing. And then another time we went to Europe, we landed in Amsterdam and then drove basically from Amsterdam all the way down through Europe down to Barcelona. So yeah, it only took us like 14 hours to do that whole drive. Like it just shows you how much smaller Europe is. I think people think every country in Europe is the size of America, and that's not it at all. No. More Americans need to leave the United States.
That's all more into Europeans not understanding how big this stuff is.
That's true, too.
It's like,
vice versa, yeah.
Coming to Los Angeles, we can go visit my friends in San Francisco. No, we cannot. I mean, you can. Have fun. But, like, I don't know how you're getting there because I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, how the latitude where it's like, do you know we are basically on the same latitude as Morocco? Mm-hmm. Like, it's you know, so you want to know why we have so much AC? We're basically Northern Africa.
It's true. And then Erebus says, to be fair, keep in mind European countries are thousands of years old. I mean, that's why they have their own languages, because you couldn't travel like you can now. You had to, like, ride a horse.
Well, for fuck's sake, there's different dialects and accents between villages in the UK. Like, it's just like I'm, you know, it's like it'd be like going over to Pasadena and you can barely understand somebody. It's crazy.
And Fire Native, or wait, who was it that said that? Yeah, Fire Native. For comparison, it takes 14 hours just to drive across Texas.
Yeah.
And if you go north to south through Florida, it's like 11 hours just to drive that. And I think Nebraska is 10 hours east to west. So yeah, there's lots of states in America that take as long to drive through as driving through the entirety of Europe north to south. Mm-hmm. So it just shows you, that's a good way to put it. So thank you for that, Fire Native. Continental Portugal is 34,000 square miles for context.
Wow.
That is small.
Not huge.
Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's our preview of Mafia: The Old World. Again, don't forget, it is coming on August 8th. and it's going to sell for $50. And I do think now that we've talked about this and seen a lot of footage for it, I think $50 was definitely the right call. We'll see if it actually helps or not, but I don't know. Sometimes I think you may be right, Matt. Your first impression was it must not be very good then. I wonder if a lot of other consumers will look at it that way as well.
So as comparison to Portugal, Los Angeles County is 4,000 square miles.
Right.
So
Yep.
Portugal is what?
30,000 more square miles
Like
than LA.
7 LAs?
Yeah.
A whole
The whole
country?
country. Yeah. And probably has less people than LA.
way less. I mean, you look at I think we have more people than like 30 other states combined.
It's crazy.
No wonder we're so crowded all the time.
Yeah, because everybody comes here. Everyone wants to live here. I came here from the East Coast. It's everyone's dream to live in California if you live on the East Coast. Everyone's like, oh, you live in California. I want it. Everybody's like, I wanted to do that.
Even if they don't admit it.
Right. Everybody wanted to live here.
Well, it's like, oh, they're all abandoning California. It's like, really? Because are
It's
they
worse
taking
now
their
than
cars? Because it
ever.
doesn't seem to be helping.
It is so bad right now, Matt. I go places.
Well, population rose this last year.
It is so bad. I go places and I just turn around and leave because there's too many people. It's nuts here. Everywhere you go in LA, it is mobbed. Every mall, every store, everything mobbed. You can't do anything here anymore. Like, it's crazy.
Well, you're like, I thought nobody could afford anything. What are y'all doing?
Where are all these people coming from?
And it's Wednesday at 1 p.m. How?
Yeah.
What do you people do?
Also, by the way,
What do I do?
Rent in LA now for a fairly new 2-bedroom apartment is $5,000 a month. $5,000 a month just for rent.
Right, because all they're doing is building luxury shit.
Yeah, and all these people can afford it somehow.
And those buildings are empty.
They're not so anymore.
Bunch of them are.
Not anymore, though. You drive by at night now, most of them are full.
Oh, go drive the ones down Miracle Mile.
Yeah.
They're empty. There's
Still
nothing.
empty. West Side, all those ones that sat empty for years, they're all filling up now. And a lot of it are the people who lost their homes in the fires, who are now, they have to have a place to live while they rebuild their home. So, Mellow Pintor, everyone is leaving Cali. Joe Rogan, which means it is all BS. Exactly.
Pretty much.
That's a narrative. That's all BS. I wish people would leave because our rent would
Yeah,
go down.
believe me, a lot of us would be fine with some of that. It's like we could take the pressure off the cooker a little bit.
It'd be
but
nice.
No, that does not happening.
The opposite is happening. This city is more crowded than it has ever been. And it's gigantic. And it's still crowded everywhere you go.
Because everybody's on Olympic.
It's really nuts.
Like, how are there this many people on Highland?
I don't know, man.
Like, why are you all on Santa Monica right
Yeah.
now? What is so interesting at the end of Sunset? What are you doing over here?
Yep.
I promise there's nothing. The House of Blues is gone. There's no reason to be here.
You're right. It is gone. And that was the only reason to be there. Yeah.
At that end, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
I guess it's Barney's Beanery. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But you can't park there anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You have to, like, park away and take an Uber to get
Yeah.
to the bar. It's so stupid. That's the stuff you do in LA, though.
Yeah.
You're going somewhere, you don't get to your destination. You get kind of close, park your car, and then call an Uber and take an Uber the rest
You
of
need
the
a
way.
strategy, a parking
It's
strategy.
ridiculous.
Like going to the Hollywood Bowl, you got to park at Hollywood and Highland and walk up the hill. Because otherwise, you're never getting out.
It's true. You'll be there for like 4 hours after the show. Yep, trying to get out of there. Anyway, let's move on. We're going to talk next about a game called Spirit of the North 2. And some people may remember the first Spirit of the North. It was this, like, very linear, side-scrolling platformer. Do you remember it?
Vaguely.
You play as a fox.
As a fox, yeah.
And it was, like, canned. Like, the jumps were kind of, like, automatic or whatever. I enjoyed it because they really tugged at your heartstrings. Like,
It was very indie game with a capital I and G.
any game with an animal, I'm a sucker. And I know what's going to happen. Something horrible is going to happen to the animal. It's going to make me sad. Whatever. I jumped into this game, and the first thing I want to say is this game will appeal to people who like Team Ico's games. And let me just get the B-roll going here. So you play as a fox like you did in the first game, but this time is completely open world. It's crazy that a studio went from that weird kind of canned 2D platformer to an open world game. And it's not like a small open world, it is a gigantic open world. And you play as a fox who buddies up with this raven, and you become partners throughout the entirety of the game. And the game starts, you basically end up in this like dungeon area, and you accidentally unleash this evil shaman. And this evil shaman has enslaved the leaders of all the local tribes. And the local tribes are animal tribes. So he's enslaved like the lead elk from the elk tribe, the lead bear from the bear tribe. And basically your job is to free all these creatures that the shaman has enslaved and then ultimately stop the shaman, even though you are the idiot who messed it up in the beginning by letting him free. There is a creative fox in this that is far more granular and deep than pretty much any character creation tool I've used, and I just played Oblivion. And the funny part is, I mess with it all, and I could not tell the difference in my
This feels kind of like a joke.
I think it kind of was. Like, I think it's like a funny thing. They're like, oh, create your own fox or whatever. So anyway, you can create your own fox, although as far as like actually being able to make it look differently than another fox, I don't know about that. So anyway, you set this shaman free, and then you set out into this open world. And the other thing I want to say right off the bat is there is very little direction in this game. There are no waypoints. There are no arrows pointing you where to go. The map in the game doesn't show you the location that you're supposed to go to. Once you activate a location, it will appear on the map going forward, but it never tells you where to go or what to do. And the open world is absolutely gigantic. Now, there's a couple things in the game that kind of help you a little bit as far as like figuring out where you need to go. There are no waypoints, as I said, but there are these red ribbons of like smoke ribbons that are in the sky that can kind of guide you to the general location that you need to go next. There are also these little flying embers that you come across, and those like they'll fly around through the air. If you follow those, they usually take you to like side missions or side things that you can find. And then there's also your raven. So the raven sometimes will fly ahead of you and perch itself somewhere saying like, hey, come over here and check this out. Otherwise, you're on your own. And the game goes through patches where it's fine. Like, the game just naturally leads you to the next place, and you're kind of cruising along and doing your thing. And then you'll finish a major objective and have no idea where to go. And that's where the game, for me, kind of stalled. But you may be wondering, like, why did Shane compare this, like, to Team Ico's games? It's because, one, you have this little partnership, this unspoken partnership. Like, obviously, they're animals. They don't talk. Like, you can bark and, like, click as the fox, and you can kind of communicate with other animals. Like, they'll react to that, but it's kind of unpredictable what they'll actually do when you try to interact with them. But otherwise, it's like this silent, moody, emotional experience that you go through where you have this team of creatures that the game does a great job of making you care about over the first like 3 or 4 hours of the game, and then starts messing with those creatures to kind of tug at your heartstrings. Now you'll see right here, the only thing you collect in this game are those blue jewels. That's it. That's the only collectible. Like, if you can find like some little scrolls and some other stuff, but as far as like stuff that you collect that actually has an impact on making progress through the game, it is just the blue jewels. So I said that, you know, it's an open world. There is fast travel. Eventually you come across these little portals that you can activate that will let you fast travel and get around a little more quickly, but they are few and far between. I didn't find nearly as many of those as I wanted to. There is a lot of just lugging it. And so the fox can run, and he can do a run jump, and that's pretty much the extent of his abilities. Eventually he picks up sticks, like these staffs that you need to like take to like this other place. Sometimes the fox can pick up like a lit torch, and it helps you see, which is a big deal in this game because there's a lot of parts in this game where it's just way too dark and you can't see jack squat. So he does stuff like that, but otherwise that's all he does. There's no combat in this game at all, but there are still boss fights, which is, it's very creative how they figured out how to do boss fights in this. Like, they basically, the boss fights are set up in a way that you act defensively to be offensive. So you're basically tricking the enemy into hurting itself instead of you hurting the enemy. Like, you fight this one bird, and you're in kind of like this bird cage with a bunch of doors that slide down. You wait for the bird to like stick its head into the hole, and then you drop the door down on its head. It traps it there, and it lets you run up and like pull these barbs out of it that are like basically killing the bird. So you're trying to help the bird, but the bird doesn't realize you're trying to help it, and it's trying to kill you at the same time. And that's how the boss fights work. There's another one where you fight this elk, and the elk is like summoning these prickly vines up from the ground, and basically you just have to dodge the vines when they come up from the ground, and eventually they provide a way for you. In that one, you actually do kind of attack the elk at the end. After you dodge the vines, you just kind of jump into him, and it doesn't attack, sort of. But for the most part, there's really no combat in this at all. It is just a passive experience where you just kind of cruise around this open environment as this fox and this raven, and stuff happens, basically.
I mean, that does sound similar to the first one, just with an open world.
Right.
Instead of, like, limited locations.
Yep. There are, as I said, those blue gems that you pick up. Those you just go to. There's a raccoon vendor that you go to that you buy stuff from, and everything in there is way overpriced. The game is very stingy with the crystal shards. So you may see every pot you knock over, you get like 1 or 2 shards. Everything that you need to buy from the raccoon is at least like 150 shards.
Man, raccoons.
They drive a hard bargain, apparently. And then, believe it or not, there is a skill tree in this game. And it is literally a tree. It's a skill tree. And there are like 30 different things that you can upgrade, but they're all kind of stupid stuff. Like, one of them lets you'll find like more skill points in chests. So, again, there's a skill tree. You need the skill points to do it. Like, you can get a skill that helps you find more skill points, which is kind of cool. It's like a self-repeating cycle. Then other ones are like buffs where you find more crystals, it'll eliminate fall damage, or increase the fox's overall health, or increase the number of wisp followers. So the way this game is gated is by these things called wisps. They're these little blue orbs that you get usually after you accomplish a big thing. And then when you go to these little pedestals and you just spend the orbs on the pedestal, that will then open the door and go on your way. So a big part of this game is searching the open world, trying to find those wisps that you need to unlock the next door to go on to the next section of the game. And some of the skill trees, or some of the skills that you can unlock in the tree, will increase the number of wisp followers you get from those moments. The Raven, you can also upgrade the Raven. So eventually you get these things called runes for the fox. And there are these like turquoise-looking tattoos that give the fox abilities. And eventually you get them for the Raven as well. And one of the first ones the Raven gets is the ability to hover. So you start working with the Raven. You could jump off like a high cliff, and the Raven will come and snatch onto you, and you can float down and glide down, which then eliminates some of the skills that you paid to unlock that eliminated fall damage, but I'm not going to belabor that point. So there's some conflicts in this game where you're like, wait a minute, I spent skill points on that skill, and now this rune has made the skill irrelevant. So there's some things that weren't maybe thought the whole way through, as well as maybe that they should have. So the fox ultimately gets like 5 runes. You get 1 for the Raven. Most of the major upgrades in this game are for traversal. Helping the fox jump higher, as I said, like eventually the Raven helps him hover and jump down from high places and eliminates fall damage. Like most of the stuff that you get that is cool in a skill tree just helps the fox get around a lot easier or a lot more quickly. Again, there's no real combat in this game, so the skills are not going to be angled towards any kind of combat. So you just saw there, I just found like a little glyph or whatever. You also find like hieroglyphics on walls that you activate or whatever. And I haven't figured out 100% what those are for. I think they're just a collector's thing or something. Some of them did give you hints for puzzles, though. And I don't know if that's what they're for, but if you just tap the button while you're next to a hieroglyphic, it lights up, and then you collect it, quote unquote. So as I said, there's not much combat, so most of the game is puzzle platforming and collecting things. And the platforming in this game, there's 2 different types. So you can have full control over running and jumping, and there's a long jump and all that. But there's also this system that's kind of like the first game where icons will pop up on ledges telling you that you can jump there, and then you hit the button and you automatically jump to that place. There's another game recently that had that I can't remember what the name of it was.
What?
Kind of an auto jump where like a cursor will appear on a platform telling you can make the jump. Then you hit the jump button and the fox automatically jumps. There's another game recently that had that same feature, and again, I cannot remember which one it was. Maybe someone in chat will remember it. But
sounds familiar, but I don't remember now.
The problem is that the game gets confused. Sometimes it can't figure out whether you're trying to use the automatic jumping points or whether you're trying to manually jump. And that can cause some problems in this game. Some awkward moments where you're like, wait, am I supposed to be doing this? Or there'll be like a weird invisible wall there, and you don't know what it looks like you should be able to like traverse, but you can't. Sometimes things look like they're way too tall, but the icon will pop up and you can jump up there, where other places the same height of jump you can't do. So there's like some inconsistencies in the game, and that can get frustrating in a game like this, where you're trying to figure out where you need to go and what you need to do. Like if you're fiddling around, you're like, man, the jumping is inconsistent in this, and it's not telling me or giving me good feedback on whether I can make that jump or not. That's a problem.
I'm glad the ancient civilization provided little pull tabs for
foxes. Dogs. Just it's the exact height for a fox, right? What else can I say about this game? So the gameplay, like I said, there's no combat. So they replace it with like carrying lit torches to light other torches, carrying staffs that you give to people that need the staffs, dragging heavy things onto weight pads. Like I said earlier, you can use the fox's barking and clicking to communicate with other animals in the world. But what you do the most is platforming in this, puzzle platforming. And the platforming, you can see, it kind of sucks. Also, the camera gets jittery and acts weird sometimes. It's not a polished game. It needed another 6 months at least in the cooker to kind of iron out a lot of the problems. But here's the thing. For a certain type of player, this game is still awesome, man. And again, I point to the people who like games like Ico or The Last Guardian. It really has that emotional pull where you become attached to the two players who are also becoming attached throughout the course of the game. And it kind of, the players' feelings kind of replicate the feelings of the characters that are inside the game. And I think that's something that resonates inside a lot of Team Ico's games. And you definitely get that here. There's a lot of loneliness, wandering around. The music in this is incredible. Even my wife remarked on the music in this game. And it takes a lot for my wife to remark on pretty much anything in video games anymore. And she talked about how awesome the music was in this game. It really is just emotional, a little bit depressing. But again, that's kind of the tone of the game. It's just this very kind of Spartan experience where you're kind of figuring it out on your own. And some people are going to like that. Some people are going to hate it. I was okay with it at first. It wore on me as time went on. It became harder for me to enjoy this game the further I played it. I guess the best way I would put it. As I said, there's tons of graphical glitches. You've seen some of them in the B-roll already. The game is really dark in a lot of places and hard to see. I had to turn up the brightness on my TV in a couple places just to see where I was going. I really like the music. The other thing I would say I would compare this to, Stray. That's the other game that did the automatic jumping with the cursor. And I would compare this a lot to Stray. It's not as, like, funny and quirky and irreverent as Stray was. Stray was more of, like, a fun tone. This is a serious, dark tone.
I mean, it had moments where you realized that, like,
things were kind of messed up.
The world had ended, and we're just robots
right.
now.
Yeah. But this has that tone the whole way through. Like, that's what this game is about. And I'm sure watching this B-roll, the environments may remind you a little bit of Ico. Like the areas that you and her traveled through in that game, a lot of these areas remind me of that. And sadly, the graphical quality also reminds me of Ico.
I was going to say it doesn't look nearly as good as Ico.
Right. That's what I was saying. And Ico's now, what, 20? How old is Ico now?
Ico is 24 years old.
Yeah.
Now.
And this game doesn't look all that much better than it, to be fair, which is kind of sad.
I mean, technologically it does, but, like, aesthetically, there's something about the fox in this I don't like the look of. Like, it feels flat.
There's no fur shading.
Yeah.
They just weren't good enough to...
No fur shading, but there's also not really any lighting on it. Like, it just feels very... I mean,
it's a pretty flat game.
You couldn't push this many polygons on the PS2, but the art style could be done on the PS2.
Well, notice there's no shadow on the fox.
Yeah.
Like, the lighting in this definitely is a notch back.
And the fox doesn't have a shadow.
That's what I just said.
But there's no shadow on the fox either.
Right. There's definitely no self-shadowing.
The shadow doesn't have... But, like, I know they're in like, you know, they're in the shade. The sun's not shining directly on the fox. But, like, you still have shadows in the shade.
Yeah.
And we can do that now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, there's something about kind of it's not even necessarily the tech. It's just like when you were showing the fox close up or the fox, like, being created, it was like, the textures look dirty. Like, it just doesn't look good. And
it's still, I mean, it doesn't, I wouldn't say the frame rate is all that bad. It just has this weird issue where, like, the camera just jumps and gets jittery.
I saw it. It just was that the camera doesn't know where to go when you're close up to the platforming.
Yeah, and it causes problems. That section you just saw right there, that's a lot of the game. Platforming. And looking at these things, like, am I really supposed to jump up that? Or am I just, like, out of bounds right now? Like, there's lots of moments, like, you're like, am I supposed to be here? And then you realize, I was. Like, here I am at the top of the mountain now. Like, I didn't think I was even supposed to climb up that stuff, but I did. And it turns out that's what I was actually supposed to do. There's a lot of that with this game. Again, 6 months more in the cooker would have done this game a lot of good. But unfortunately, it's a smaller game, and it's a smaller studio, and they may have run out of money, and who knows. So, unfortunately, it's not as polished as I would like. But again, it's all about that tone and that vibe. And if you like games like Shadow of the Colossus, Ico, The Last Guardian, it has that same feeling to it. Like, there's not a lot of talking, there's not a lot of cutscenes. It's just a lot of you with the tone, with the music, with the vibes, just poking around this open world trying to find the next thing that's going to be a domino that sends you off into the next mission or whatever. And I did get tired eventually of trying to find that thing, that domino that was going to kick off the next section of the game. There was times where it took me like 30 or 40 minutes of just running around and be like, there it is. Or there's that wisp that I need so I can go to this obelisk. Like, some people find that stuff really rewarding. I'll just fully admit I like a little bit more hand-holding in video games in 2025. Maybe that's just me and how I've changed over time, but it just gets frustrating after a while, wandering around aimlessly, not knowing where to go. And the other thing, too, with this game is, like, no one's reviewed it. There's no videos anywhere. I just had to figure it out on my own. So it became frustrating in a couple points. But, again, I have been doing this long enough that I can recognize the tenets of certain games, and there are certain people that resonate with this stuff. And I'm just telling you, if you like Ico or The Last Guardian, you're going to like this game. You just are. It's got that same feel to it. It is rough around the edges. It has issues, but every once in a while it has one of those moments where, I mean, I literally almost cried several times playing this game. So after you rescue the local leaders from the shaman, you set their spirit free, there's this moment where it like goes back through their history and it shows you like a snapshot of their life basically. And you know, if it was an elk, it shows like the elk as a doe, and it was, you know, chased by some
weird.
creature.
That outdoor stuff with the sunset, like the sunrise and the fog, that looked pretty good. And then it just looks like this again when he goes inside.
The game is very inconsistent. Yeah, and here you go right back out into the fog, and it looks amazing again.
It looks
and
really nice. Yeah.
And in a minute, I'll be down by the beach, and it looks awesome, and you can get in the water and swim in the waves and all. But then the next moment, you're somewhere that looks horrible. Like it's just,
oh my God, the fox!
Right, exactly.
It's got mange. What's going on?
So look, this game isn't in my wheelhouse, but again, I've been doing this long enough to know that there are a lot of people that this game will be in their wheelhouse.
I don't know. I mean, Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite game of all time, and I don't see a lot of it here.
No, that is the furthest of the three Team Ico games for sure. But the other two, like Ico,
it's just there's a verve and a polish and a I don't know. There's a quality to the Team Ico stuff. Even like I don't really like The Last Guardian very much, but it's just I don't know. I don't want to like rip on the developers or anything. It doesn't feel like they're up to what they're making here.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying this is as good as those games. Yeah. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's the same vibe.
Like I'm sure they would cite those games as
an inspiration
for sure.
Yeah.
And certainly they like that color that Team Ico uses. Blue is like very Team Ico. Uh-huh. Everything good in Team Ico's games is that blue.
No, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that teal or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That magic blue. That's what I think of it as.
But here's the thing. Like, we just don't get games like this hardly at all anymore. Like, we're not at Team Ico. Does it even exist anymore? Like, we're probably not going to get any more games from that crew. So you got to start looking at stuff like this and trying to figure out if it's something that you would enjoy or just tolerate or whatever. I tolerated it, but I know other people will really enjoy this game.
Yeah, I think I'll just play Ico again.
Or you could just do that too. Seriously though, yeah. I mean you could.
If you still have the PS4 one kicking around.
Right. This game's $35. I think that's about right. I played this game for like 12 hours and I was nowhere near the end of it. I seriously think this game might be like 30 or 40 hours long. I don't know. But
it sure looked like it when you were scrolling through all the different like totem things.
Right. I mean, again, there's like 30 skill upgrades in this game. And like I always show footage early in the game, I still have only unlocked like 8 of them at this point. And so there's still 22 more to go, and I've only played it like 10, 12 hours each.
Yeah, I certainly didn't finish the first one. I played it for a bit.
But look, you waste a lot of time in this game wandering around. Like trying to figure out where to go.
That definitely wasn't I didn't, because it was linear, so I didn't have a problem finding anywhere I was supposed to go. I don't know if adding that to this really enhances anything.
It bothered me. Other people, I think, may like it, poking around and then finally finding that one thing that you've been looking for.
I certainly understand why you'd want to, like, why you think that would be a natural fit for this, what you're doing, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they want to do. And the first one just didn't have the time or budget, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, so much of this footage is just you running around that it's sort of like, I don't know if this is a better thing scope is obviously larger, but I don't know if it makes the game better.
The open world is also kind of empty. Like,
I mean,
other than those fast travel portals and the objects that you need to interact with to move the plot forward, there's really nothing else. It's very barren. And that could be an advantage because there's not so many places you have to check to find that one thing that moves the game forward. But at the same time, you are just running around in empty space a lot in this game. Like, you just keep that sprint button pegged down pretty much the entire time that you're playing it. But again, I almost cried like 3 times playing this game. It definitely hits those notes for sure.
Well, I think I'm just going to wait for Ueda's next game in 2034.
If it ever comes. But to your point,
what's the name of that?
What?
The next, Ueda's next game.
I don't know what his next game is.
They announced it. It's that mech thing. You remember? I don't remember when it was. It was like a year or 2 ago.
I don't remember it.
It's like a mech thing. It's a very different, you'd know it if you saw it. It's like the crazy big, like almost stone ancient mech thing, and the guy gets in it and like stands up.
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah,
as soon as you see it, you're like, yep, that's the TV
I know
guy.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
But because there's like an armada coming or something,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that game is probably like 6 years away.
Yeah.
And I do think that a lot of people are like, damn, I want to play a game like that, and I don't want to wait another 5 years. I've already sat and waited for 5 years for one. And this is a good facsimile of it. And again, not as good as Team Ico's games, but you will feel similarly while playing it.
I mean, if you can't get actual heroin, I guess you take methadone.
You're right. So anyway,
and heroin is few and far between if it's Team Ico games.
Yeah. So anyway, that is Spirit of the North 2. It is $35. It is available for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series. This also probably would have been a great Game Pass game.
Yeah.
It probably would have got a lot more people to play it. But like,
I mean, what game isn't when it comes down to it? It's a game you can just install without paying any extra.
That's true. But this one in particular, I feel like a lot of people probably wouldn't give this game a chance.
No, I mean, 35 feels like a pretty reasonable price.
I think it's the right price. I think they priced it right. But look, they still have work to do on this. They need to keep working on this thing. Like,
I keep an eye out for patches on this. Maybe I'll try it eventually. But like, it sounds, just even watching it, it looks, I can see how rough it is when you're talking about that.
Yeah, a lot of me here talking about this is planting a seed for you.
Like this trailer looks way smoother than what we just saw.
Of course, they get to choose
they
their
get
shots.
pick and choose.
But
every once in a while, it's like you're like, oh, you couldn't even get straight footage of that.
Yeah. So it's not without its faults or without its warts, but I do think, again, for a certain type of player, Spirit of the North 2 will be something that you'll remember for sure. I think I will remember this game. Like, not many games get me that emotional. And even on the actual playing of the game, I was not that enthused with.
Well, you didn't cry during Doom: The Dark Age?
I definitely did not. I cried in some of the cutscenes.
When Demon 4083 called for his mother when you ripped his head off?
Didn't do it for me, unfortunately, no. But anyway, that's Spirit of the North. It's $35, PC, PS5, Xbox Series. And if you like Team Ico's games, you should definitely give it a look. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about Revenge of the Savage Planet. I had played it last week, and obviously Matt had not had a chance to, but now he has. So just want to quickly share his opinions on this, because also this game is kind of in your wheelhouse. With the scanning mania, the open world, all that stuff. Like, it feels like it's a perfect fit for you, so I'm interested to hear if that is actually the case. What did you think of it?
Somewhat. I mean, I like it. I like the first one. This one's very different. But also, like the tone's the same. I mean, the world is very recognizably the same. But it's such a different game in the sense that the first one was very much Metroid Prime.
Yep.
It was a first-person exploration sort of game that like really took a lot from Metroid Prime. This one is a third-person action platformer, which approaches the same idea very differently. Really interesting. You rarely see a developer do that.
Yeah.
Like, I know that it was basically different companies because they got bought and got shut down and then bought the IP back and formed a new company to make another sequel.
Which is crazy.
I think it's pretty successful at it. It would be hard to go back to the first one now because this one is a more dynamic.
Did you play any of it co-op?
Oh, no.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I played for like an hour.
It doesn't need it.
It doesn't. You can play it by yourself, no problem.
It actually makes more sense not co-op because part of it is like you've just been abandoned by this company.
It almost feels like a job to like manage somebody else.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I do. My only real complaint on this is I feel like it never settles into a pattern. I mean, it does have a pattern, but it never settles down like
into a loop.
You instantly leave, and you're like, you need this thing, so we can do this thing. You go get the thing. It's like, okay, now that we have the thing, we need this other thing to make that thing work. So you got to go get the thing, and like Metroid, it's a very Metroid like structure.
Yeah.
But Metroid games tend to do a thing where like you get the upgrade, and then you go through a section where you use that upgrade to get through that area, and then you'll hit a point where you're like, oh, I can't go any further. I need this other thing. Yeah. And you'll have to go on this like side thing to get the next thing. This one is just like, okay, you got that thing, go get this other thing. And you never really get a chance to really play with your new toy.
Because the new toy is just like, here's this door you weren't able to get through. Use the toy to get through the door.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we need this other thing. We got to go to another planet. And it's like, and
it doesn't make you master the toy.
Yeah, and obviously there's other places you can go and now open with the toy and go do various things. But it's not part of the critical path. And it's sort of like if you're not going aside and exploring, it doesn't feel like you're using your new abilities very much. And the problem is until you get far enough in the game where you've basically got almost everything, all that's going to do when you try to go do exploring things is you're going to go find places you still can't access yet because you don't have another ability yet. And so I felt a little railroaded through
the open world kind of messes with that too, because if it's linear, it's like we were saying earlier, you know what the player's going to do. So you can stack that next thing right in order. Give it to them. Master it, give them the next thing. Master it, give them the next thing. Master it.
It wasn't until later on, like I say, like more than halfway through the main quest, where I started to realize, okay, now the areas I have to get through to get the next ability are making me use my previous abilities to get through. Like eventually, you get to like the frozen volcano planet, and you're riding on zip lines, and you're jumping over these things. It makes you feel like your arsenal is sort of being used more. Early on, it really feels like it's just like kind of, come on, we got to go do all this stuff so you can be a functional player character. And I was like, why don't you just give me all this shit to begin with?
Yeah.
And I just sort of felt like every time I tried to go off the critical path, it felt like I was being almost like lectured for it.
It felt like the game tells you like, no.
Yeah, it's like no, you can't really do anything
You're
here
right.
yet. You need to like go back and
That's
there's a lot of going back and forth to things. It got a little almost comedic where it's like, all right, we need this thing. You got to go find it. And you go on this long thing to go find this thing, fight a boss, get the thing, and it's like, oh great. Unfortunately, the thing is missing these two critical components. You have to go 2 different places on another planet to go get the thing. And I'm just like, I mean, okay, fine, but like. It was like a 20-minute journey to get this one thing, and then like it's like, okay, now you can open this kind of door, which lets us get this other thing you need to then levitate this thing that lets us go into this other cave. And it's like,
I mean, it's a Metroidvania.
Right, it's just, but it's like, it's this weird combination of like, you never feel like you get to settle into the new items before you move on to the next new item. And it's hand-holding you through it so much that there's no real feeling of a discovery or exploration when it comes to finding those new abilities.
Yeah.
It's not like in like the Iga Castlevanias or the Metroid games where like, okay, I've hit this sort of thing where I can't do anything. Clearly, I need some other ability to do this. I'm going to look at the map and see where I haven't been. Oh, there was that thing I couldn't get through. I bet I can get through with this thing I have now. I'm going to go over there and do that. And that doesn't start to happen in this game until I would say you've explored 3 of the 4 planets.
Your third planet. Yeah, that's when it really happens. Yeah.
It's not like bad necessarily, but I just thought it was weird.
Yeah.
Like it didn't start really scratching my Metroidvania itch until like 10 hours in.
Yeah, it's a good ways into the game.
So the late game isn't like that. It feels very open and exploration-y and all this, and that's a lot of fun. But it took a long time to get there.
What I wonder...
And it teases you with shit from the beginning. Like the first time you try to dive in the water, it's like, oh, you want to swim?
Yeah.
I'll find an upgrade for you for that someday.
Yeah.
And it's like the end of the game when you get that. And like it's just it's a little... And that might be intentional because the game is very sarcastic and mean.
Yeah, I mean that's
like it's a very
tone
cruel
of the game.
World you live in. So that would be my real criticism was just like it's
I
got
wonder
a weird...
if they intended for us to play it cooperatively and therefore we would get through that early part of the game faster than we did because we played it by ourselves.
I don't know.
I wonder.
The co-op feels. I feel like this would be a very weird experience if you weren't alone. Because
I played for an hour with somebody else.
Because it feels so.
I was like, why?
It feels so driven by being alone. In the same way Metroid. Metroid is a very lonely game. Mm-hmm. It feels like you can go at a better pace by yourself.
Yeah.
But the visuals are cool. All the planets are very different and look very different. The creatures are fun. The animation is very
great.
Good. The animation is very. It's almost got a Looney Tune. Like there's a Wile E. Coyote quality to your character as they run around in this exaggerated way and slip on things and land.
Slapstick. Yeah.
Oh yeah. They fall too far and they'll land they'll basically be like accordion like Wile E. Coyote and stuff. It's it's a very different approach than the first game.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think it gives it a personality that the first game simply didn't have. Like I would continually confuse the first game with Outer Worlds.
Right.
Because it had that same kind of neon dripping with color look and the weird alternate. And a first person. Now you'd never confuse it with that because it's not first person anymore.
Yeah.
So, and yes, there's a lot of scanning.
And you love that, I'm assuming. You can scan everything.
I mean, it's not as satisfying as like a Metroid kind of thing.
Because you're scanning a lot of trees and shrubs.
A lot of trees and it doesn't really matter. And the scanning is weird because if you move or anything moves, it breaks the scan thing. It's not quite as... But it is fun to try to have to scan a giant worm when you're fighting the boss.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It still has those elements.
Good. It's good. It's a shame it's probably gonna get buried by everything else that came out this year.
Yeah, I mean, even on
I don't know
Game
how
Pass,
you even remotely get people to pay attention to this game.
Well, it's like Doom just is about to launch on Game Pass. Who's gonna play this over Doom?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not many. I mean, it is an entirely different game, but just the hype and the marketing alone will convince people to play something else. This is also a perfect Game Pass game. The type of game that maybe people wouldn't want to pay for, but if you can play it as part of your subscription, next thing you know, you're like, wow, I just spent 15 hours playing this game I didn't think I even cared about. That's what Game Pass is awesome at. Like giving you things to try that you may not have thought you would like, and then you try and you're like, oh, hot damn, I actually love this. Next thing you know, you've been spending 3 days playing a game that you never thought you would give a crap about. So,
yeah. And the I will say the upgrades do tend to feel substantial, especially the player upgrades, like the health and stamina. Like by the time you've upgraded those a few times, you really notice how much further you can sprint.
Yeah,
it's not really an issue anymore after a while. And I actually really like the way you're supposed to drink this orange goo to upgrade the character's health and stamina. And it is never explained how you drink the orange goo through the helmet.
You just stick your head in it.
You just do. And there's 15 different animations for getting the goo, including one where the character just dives into the pod and then pops back out. And the computer even a couple times will say it's like you got the orange goo.
Perfect
there
timing.
it is. Yeah, you got the orange goo. I don't know how you managed to drink it, but you did.
Yeah.
And it's just
the whole game's like that.
They call all that stuff out all the time.
I thought the writing with this was
funny.
excellent. Yeah, very fun. Legitimately funny writing. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you go back to your habitat and there's a giant screen and it plays ads from the dystopian corporations from everywhere. There's an influencer gag thing, which is a little uncomfortably accurate. Honestly, it's a little too real.
Yeah.
But those ads and the cutscenes and all the stuff on the monitor are all done. They're all shot live action, and then just done up weird, and there's some CG added and green screen and weird costumes and a little touch up thing. It looks like old FMV games to some degree, and no one's doing that.
No.
Now. And it's both interesting and kind of cool. And really unsettling
at the same time,
all at the same time, and it's that's where the heart of the satire is, and it really works.
Yeah,
they did a really good job on that.
How much would you recommend someone actually pay for this game versus getting it on Game Pass?
I don't know how much it costs.
I think it's $40.
I would pay 40. I would say 40.
I think it's priced right. Yeah.
I love that your settlement is New Florida. That makes a lot of sense. It looks like a motel.
Now, I didn't get to go back and play more of this after last week, unfortunately. I want to, but I got sucked up into Doom and Spirit of the North 2, and there you go, the week's gone. So I didn't get to go back and play this, and I'm hoping that something else doesn't come along that takes me away from doing that, because I would like to finish this game if I can. I really enjoyed it. I definitely think it's worth $40. But I agree with you. It's coming out at a rough time right now. It's a Game Pass game, and there's so many good things on Game Pass. It's going to struggle to get eyeballs.
I mean, there's a pretty good month for it because there's not a whole lot happening, and maybe it'll have some pickup in the summer as everything really.
Yeah,
it is a pretty good summer game.
I wish I could match up with people to play co-op, but then when I did play co-op, I didn't enjoy it as much as playing by myself. So does it matter?
I think co-op would just sort of interfere with the tone.
It felt like a job. It's like before every day, we're like, what are you going to do? I don't know. What are you going to do? And then you come back and meet at the end of the day and be like, did you get it done? I didn't find co-op adding a lot to this.
We ain't found shit.
Right? Pretty much. So yeah, there you go. That's Revenge of the Savage Planet. Now you've heard both Matt and I's impressions of the game. Definitely, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, download it and give it a go. I don't know why you wouldn't have done that already. It's definitely worth the download time. I think it was only like 8 or 9 gigs also. It wasn't that big of a game.
Yeah, it's not that big.
It didn't take a lot of commitment to get the download. So yeah, if you have Game Pass, give it a go. Right now, it's kind of hard to recommend as a purchase because there's so many other big games that have come out over the last like 2 months. Like we would recommend you get Clair Obscur before you spend money on Revenge of the Savage Planet, and that game's pretty long. So the current climate right now, it's hard to recommend buying, but I definitely say if you are a Game Pass subscriber, go download it, give it a go. And I think you'll figure out probably in the first like 40 minutes whether you want to keep playing it.
Yeah.
It's not like it hides what it is from the player.
Yeah, I think if you're not into it by the time you unlock the habitat at New Florida, it's probably not for you.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. So there you go. That's Revenge of the Savage Planet. And up next, there's just one thing left to do. Well, there's 2 things. But there's only one thing left to do content-wise. And of course, it's the lightning round. This is where we round up all the smaller news stories from the week. I throw them to Matt. Matt gives me a minute or 2 of commentary on them. And then we move on to the next. This is a replacement for what used to be called the Big Six back in the early days of GameFace, but now we do it at the end of the show, and it's called the Lightning Round.
There's one thing, and I'm surprised isn't in here.
What?
The giant bomb thing.
Oh. Yeah, you know what? I was going to mention that in housekeeping, and I forgot. So I'm glad you brought that up, because we did talk about it in the Lightning Round last week, and that is that Giant Bomb bought itself back from its parent company. I'm guessing some of those guys got paid out when it was bought the first time.
Somewhat, yeah. Or maybe they just didn't think it was worth much, so they sold it pretty cheap.
I am curious what they sold that
I
for.
don't know. The 2 Jeffs seem to have been the main purchasers.
Jeff Grubb and...
Ramini?
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Yeah.
I don't know these people.
I
know Jeff Grubb because he's a constantly... I don't watch Giant Bomb. I've never watched Giant Bomb.
I do wonder if they approached Jeff
I barely pay attention to this show. I don't have any...
I do wonder if they approached Jeff Gerstmann about coming back.
That was... one of my friends online was saying, like, oh, I hope they get the OG people back. And I was like, I feel like that's unlikely. At the same time, what are they doing that's better right now?
Jeff is just doing his own thing.
Right. But, like, now that we wouldn't have to work for the corporate overlords, like, why not, Giant Bomb is a bigger name than Jeff Gerstmann. No shade intended.
My guess is Jeff realized that he could make a living just doing it on his own.
Oh, 100%.
And was like, why would I go back?
Well, I mean, you go back because first off, you're forming a coalition of Jeffs.
Yeah.
And we need a coalition of Jeffs spelled with a J to combat Keeley spelled with a G. Because otherwise there will never be balance to the force.
I hear you.
At the same time, he doesn't have to run it anymore. So he can basically just like drop in as the big celebrity basically whenever he wants and be like, well, I'm coming back to my stomping grounds and you everybody bow down to me and I'm going to go home and not worry about it. Like I think that would be fun. That'd be more fun for him, I would think.
Who knows though what happened when he left?
True.
There could be other stuff that we don't know
about. We
don't
know about whatever drama might be, this
I mean, it could have just been other reasons other than overlords.
There's always more fevered egos than you might think behind the scenes of some things, although it seems maybe unlikely in that situation, but I don't know. Weirder things I feel like we would have heard about that by now if it actually...
Giant Bomb was independent, bought by CNET GameSpot. After they left CNET GameSpot to make their own company, they get the last laugh to get GameSpot and CNET to pay them for their company that they built. CNET gets sold to some other... I mean, it's basically like a hedge fund or whatever that owns them now. And that company ultimately sells it back to those people. Now, I don't know how many of the people who are currently at Giant Bomb were there at the beginning and actually were a part of the sale to GameSpot and CNET.
I think the answer to that is 0.
Really?
It's pretty close.
I thought the one guy, Drew or whatever his name... I'll be honest with you, I don't
think
he's
know
there
anymore.
Either. Really?
Drew
Scanlon or whatever?
The meme guy?
No.
The guy,
but who's the guy with the shaved head and the big beard?
I have no idea.
That guy, I think, has been there since the beginning. I think.
I don't know Giant Bomb very well. I've never made it through a show, if I'm honest.
Well, bottom line is, congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Like, last week we were sitting here like saying, wow, Giant Bomb is gone, and they're not.
All of a sudden, another independent entity
is going to survive. Yeah. Although they doubled their subscription cost.
Yeah.
They went from $5 a month to $10 a month in one day.
Well, it's not like you can't say that like there's an actual threat of vanishing here. Like it's like if you've got a good argument that like, hey, you want this to exist, give us $10.
If you don't, we'll
you
go
don't,
away. Yeah,
that's the end of it.
I would be interested to see how much they had to pay to get it back.
That would be interesting to know.
I really have no idea.
Probably more than you'd want to pay, but maybe less than you'd think.
I'm thinking like maybe $100K. Maybe I got it done.
I can't imagine that company thinks that that's a valuable property.
Because the other thing is that like their website, they've kind of abandoned it. So they don't have like the last like 8 years of gaming information on their website. So the value of the website is minimal.
Yeah, there's very little left.
And gaming content isn't very evergreen. Like we can see it like on our YouTube channel, like how many people go back and watch old videos? Hardly anyone.
Very little.
It's like once your video's been out for 3 days, it's pretty much done.
Well, what's the point? I mean, you know what I found today? Was it today or yesterday? I can't remember. It was today. I don't remember what I was looking... Oh, I was looking through old files because I was looking for a particular file. And I found a file that I couldn't open because the format is so old that none of my word processing programs could figure it out. But it was named after... It was a name of some... It was a like Nomi... something. It was like an Indian name or something. I'm like, why do I know? Because clearly I knew it because it was something I'd written back in the G4 days. So I just Googled it. And it was the woman who was a producer. She's been a producer on a bunch of things, but she was a producer on Alone in the Dark, the 2008 Alone in the Dark. And I'm like, oh, right. And one of the first results of her name is an interview segment that I did that was actually up. It was posted by a YouTube channel called Atari History or something. It was not even related to. It was just this channel just posts everything you can find related to Atari, and it was her and Phil Harrison were the two interviews talking about how amazing this Central Park Alone in the Dark is going to be. Now we know. Yeah. But I was the first person to ever watch that. It was one view. Maybe I was a second because it was.
That's hilarious.
But not a lot of need for these old. We spent so much time and effort making these crazy news package things, and they're worthless.
They're worthless. They have no value. Even game reviews. People don't go back and watch old game reviews. You would think they'd be like, "Hey, I want to buy this a year later." They don't.
No, well, at least like there's a reason to watch some of our old game reviews because they're funny.
Right.
Like the skits and stuff; those live forever.
Comedy lives forever. Evergreen. Features.
Not
retrospectives.
Not so much with the Europa Universalis 4, which we never. No, 3, which we didn't do anything to. 4 got me banned from a forum once because I used the GIF of Paul Bonanno shooting himself in the head.
Oh.
That was a very realistic effect. I can't believe we put that on TV.
Yeah, it is kind of.
We just gone through the zombie episode, and then we had all learned how to do makeup effects from the makeup guys we brought on. So we're like, let's play with it. And we're like, we might have gone a little too far.
Never on X-Play. So anyway, there you go. Giant Bomb. It's awesome. They're going to stick around. Again, though, they did double their subscription costs. Hopefully that works out for them.
Yeah. I also saw people going through how crazy 90s and early 2000s video game ads were the other day, with like especially the magazine ads. The European magazine ads, no one was watching those people. Yeah. No one was keeping tabs on what was happening over there. Like there's Game Boy ads that are like obscene. Like it's just like what?
Like nudity almost.
It's just sex. It's just like you're selling Game Boys with sex.
Nintendo gave that the green light.
Nintendo of America did not give a fuck.
All right, let's get into the lightning round. First story, Matt. It was shared this week that Nintendo changed its terms of service for the Switch 2, and it has given itself the ability to brick your Switch 2 console if it detects any piracy or hacking of the console. Big deal or not?
Not. Also, it can brick your Switch 1 if you just download an update.
Right.
They just did that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was not playing the Switch except every 3 months.
Except that was their official update.
That was their
problem.
that. Yeah. I mean, I don't intend to pirate or hack anything on the Switch 2, so I do not care.
Yeah. You don't care that Nintendo has the ability to do that, to zap your console remotely?
They all have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Do you think it will actually stop piracy or hacking? Do you think it'll scare people enough to not do it? Because I don't think that they're going to be able to detect.
No, I mean, I'd probably scare them enough to do it offline.
Yeah.
But like,
because I don't think they'll be able to detect if someone's actually being a pirate or hacking the console.
There's probably some ways you can do that.
You think so?
If you're messing with like online play or something, you probably can. But I don't know how you'd know if someone was like modding like an offline thing necessarily. I mean, it's probably ways they can tell something was altered.
I think it's mostly just to scare people
Somewhat,
into
but,
thinking they can
man,
brick their Switch too.
Even putting weird little mods sometimes in like Bethesda games, there's stuff in there that it disables achievements when
That's
they detect
true.
that. Like
Yeah.
they know when stuff's altered.
Yeah, you're
So.
probably right. So anyway, just something to keep in mind if you're a pirate, because it sounds like Nintendo could send some kind of weird remote signal.
Nintendo, it's funny how Nintendo just will not let that fight go. Like everyone else is like, yep, it's just kind of part of the
We're just going to lose 15% of sales.
Nintendo's like, we're going to sue some fucking 12-year-olds here if it kills us.
That's what it does. That's exactly what it does. Okay. Okay. Next up in the lightning round. So there's a rumor going around right now that a Grand Theft Auto 4 remaster/remake will be released before the end of the year. 1, do you believe it? And 2, will anyone care?
I can believe it.
Do you think this may be why they, or at least one reason why they decided to shift GTA 6 into next year, knowing that they had this coming maybe?
No, I think they had this coming because they knew they might need to stall for time.
Okay. So you think they baked this into their schedule as a fallback in case?
Probably. I mean, this is kind of an evergreen release.
Yeah.
At some.
You put it out whenever. Yeah.
It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really work on modern consoles very well.
Right.
So there's room for this. I think people will care. Like I feel like 4 is probably the least loved of the GTA's post 3.
Because Nico's hard to love.
Nico is, and his cousin's even harder to love.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a smaller story. It's not as cool and fun.
It's an
as the
immigrant
other stuff.
story.
It's actually pretty sad.
It
like,
is,
There's
yeah.
some pretty nasty shit that happens in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Ballad of Gay Tony is a lot more like the GTA's before
is, yeah.
A lot more fun and a lot more rocket launchers.
Yep.
But yeah, there was I liked 4. I gave it I gave it 5 out of 5 on the X-Play scale back in the day. But it was one of those things where it's like, it was kind of it felt like we weren't really encouraged to be crazy people. Again, there was that thing where it's like you just kind of run riot, and it was very hard to do that in this game and still reconcile Nico in the next cutscene with being that same person. It was like
it really was.
It felt like everybody he was friends with would have maybe had a comment or two about the fact that he was seen murdering 4,000 cops in Times Square 4 hours ago.
He felt like the most real lead character for GTA, but that also could be a detriment.
Yeah, that introduced the idea. It's why they had a triple thing in the again. If you wanted to be a crazy person, you could just switch to Trevor in 5.
Yeah.
And everything you had Trevor do was completely in character because there's nothing Trevor wouldn't do.
Right. Yeah. And this, though, he's actually kind of thoughtful.
Yeah,
Nico.
he's actually, I mean, he gets caught up in a bunch of shit, but I think you're supposed to believe that Nico would maybe be a good person.
He has a conscience,
in a different situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think this is coming out this year. I really don't.
Well, I don't trust. The thing is, I don't trust remakes of Rockstar stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Dead 1 on PC turned out real well.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, man. You try to sell me a remastered GTA game, and I'm gonna look at you sideways until my head spins around.
Oh, I want to play it before I pay.
After the definitive editions.
I want to play before I pay. Absolutely.
And even with all the fixes and all the updates they've done in the definitive editions, it's still better to just mod the originals on PC and play them that way because they still don't quite look or play right.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't think it's coming this year. I think it may actually be in the works, but if it came this year, I'd be really shocked.
It would make sense that something like, because like 4 has really been left in the dirt at this point. 5 is still obviously
like a lot of games from that era,
update.
Honestly.
Yeah, but like 5 in particular, then they leaving aside the results, they did remaster 3 Vice City and San Andreas. The only odd man out at this point is 4, and it's a little weird that 4 doesn't really get any love from kind of the remastered zone.
Yeah. I would be surprised if it comes out this year. I think the project's probably real, but this year seems a little early.
Certainly think the project is real. I don't know when you release it.
Because it'd be stupid not to
Sort
remaster.
of, yeah, but at the same time, it feels like if you release it after 6, it gets buried.
Right.
Like, who wants to go back to that after playing 6?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah. And the person who shared this rumor is very reliable. And I'll just say that, like, I don't know if they've ever been wrong related to GTA stuff, and there aren't that many GTA leakers, so that's why we're talking about it at all.
I mean, it'd be very funny if we all were expecting October to be GTA 6 day, and like in this October we're all just sitting there playing GTA 4 instead.
Right.
We're just like, what happened?
Definitely a downgrade.
This is not how I thought this was going to go.
All right, next up.
Hey,
in the
cousin.
lightning
Oh, my God. How do I turn the beeper off?
So we're not going to preview this again because we literally just previewed the game like 3 episodes ago on GameFace, but the press previewed Death Stranding 2 this week. They went to Japan and played the game for 30 hours at Kojima Productions, and they came back. I mean, basically they played enough to review the game, and everybody is like, it's God tier. I was like, I don't know how to take this.
Neither do I.
Literally.
It's just the jet lag talking voice.
Yes, I mean, it could be. But unanimously, every editor that went and played that 30-hour chunk of the game came back, like, slobbering over it. They said that it's everything they thought that the first one was going to be.
What did they think the first one was
Well, they
gonna be?
didn't think
Good?
it was going to be a FedEx simulator. They thought it was
No.
going to have action and espionage and all the stuff Kojima's known for, and they said that the second one does. They said that some people may be put off by how much gun combat and combat there is in the game, which I will not be. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
As long as it's good.
Yeah. Does this...
if you transpose Metal Gear Solid 5's gunplay to this, I'm on board with that.
Yeah. Does this change your interest in the game? Does it make you more excited to play it now?
No.
No?
I will worry about that when I play it.
It does for me a little bit.
I do not give a shit with the people who were flown to the other side of the world
Yeah.
to sit in a special comfortable room and play this game for 30 hours while being fed free food forever has to say about this. I'm not saying their reviews won't be accurate when the time comes, but I will make my own decisions on what this is.
I don't care about their opinions, but I care about the facts that they reported. As far as, like, this is how much you do this is how much you do this. I don't care whether they said they liked it or not, but them saying what you're actually doing for X amount of time is what made me more... I am definitely more interested in this game now than I was before. I didn't even want to play this game before. Now I'm like, I'll probably give it a chance. Like, I really did not like the first Death Stranding at all. Like, I really thought it was the epitome of Kojima wank, as Marcus would say, where he's just so full of himself. He's like, I can put anything on a disc and my fans are going to play it. I felt in a lot of ways that's what Death Stranding almost was.
Oh, very much. It had a very suck my disc quality.
Pretty much, yeah. And I'm hoping.
And man, I tried. I went back again this year to try to finish it before this comes out, and I'm like, I did get further. Like I think I got to like Nevada or something. I just can't. You know what? The only thing that really engaged me in that, even this time, I like building highways. Yeah. For some reason, I got distracted by just building roads.
It's rewarding to see people use it, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd log back in and I get like 40,000 likes because everyone's using my highways, and I'm just like,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying this. Like
I can see that. Yeah.
Like the concept, like the community strand concept he's working with is very compelling.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't give a shit what happens to Norman Reedus. I don't know another way to say it.
Yeah.
And that's true of everything he's ever been in. I don't have anything against the man personally, but like, they don't let him do anything.
Just so happens.
They don't let him do anything in this game.
He's just gruff.
He just sort of sits there and and every once in a while, like when he's sitting in the room, like he'll do something or whatever, and he'll look at the camera and kind of wink at you. Yeah. And I'm like, where's that guy?
Yeah, like,
because that's not anything Sam would ever do, but it does feel like Norman Reedus being like, hey, this is ridiculous, right? And I'm like, I know, like, where can I get more of that version of Norman Reedus in Sam? Like, I feel like, let Sam have a personality and maybe I'll get invested.
I am excited.
I think there's a reason they're showing that girl mostly in the trailer stuff, because she actually does have a character that isn't, I mean, Sam has his reasons for being the way he is. I'm not saying like he should, there's a reason for it, but I remain unashamed of my words and deeds by saying that he's a boring character.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. I thought he was boring in The Walking Dead too, but all the women like him, so. Yeah. All right, next up in the lightning round. So it wasn't all that long ago we were talking about Concord and how Concord lost Sony $500 million in Sony's big strategy for games as a service, 12 games as a service in development. It ended up canceling almost all of them. And this week we learn that Sony has formed a brand new studio to create games as a service from Bungie. So there was a little incubation group at Bungie that was working on stuff. Sony decided, you know what, we're going to split that out and we're going to make it its own studio. And they're going to make games as a service. The new studio is called Team LFG, which obviously stands for Let's Effing Go, which, catchphrase
does
for
it
multiplayer
or does it stand for looking for group? That seems more likely.
Or looking for game, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think?
More like looking for good.
Why would PlayStation do this? Why would it not keep Fire Sprite? Because let's be honest, Concord was actually like a well-produced game. It just didn't hit.
I mean, I'll float a theory here, especially based on what some of the stuff that came out yesterday and today about how Sony has lost close to $1 billion making Spider-Man adjacent film projects.
Oh.
They would have been more successful if they just did nothing.
Right.
Right? And just let the Marvel Cinematic Universe ones just sort of rake the money in. And the animated movies.
Yeah.
I submit to you that Sony is run by idiots.
Submission accepted.
Especially considering that the guy who didn't greenlight Deadpool, but did greenlight Madam Web, Craven, and Morbius got his contract extended last week. So, what
tells you all you need to know.
What can men do?
Yeah.
Against such reckless hate.
I mean, what does this say, though, about how desperate these publishers are to get a game as a service? I mean, they're literally risking everything.
It's doubly stupid because I'm checking the thing to make sure it's not on here later. Capcom put out their statement this morning. They had set record profits and revenues for the 8th year in a row, and all they make are full-priced, fully formed, no game as a service. You know, they make single player and Monster Hunter Wilds and all that. You know, but those are again fully featured.
You can play them
buy
by
them,
yourself.
and you got the game. You play them by yourself. You play them on with, and they're doing great.
Yeah,
they're doing great.
Yep.
They're doing better than any other third-party game publisher.
Yep.
They haven't laid anyone off in like a decade.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Why won't they imitate them? I don't know.
Other interesting thing out of that Capcom thing. 90% of their full game sales last fiscal year, digital.
Yeah.
They expect 94% this next fiscal year.
They sold 1 million units of Devil May Cry 5 in the last 12 months. Yeah. They are also experts at managing their back catalogs.
Like EA, why were there not like 12 Star Wars games, single-player Star Wars games? Why did you waste all your time and money and effort on this fucking Battlefront nonsense?
Yeah. They should have made one Battlefront.
Yeah, they
done. Move on. You don't need another one.
Battlefront 2 could definitely have just been an upgrade to that.
Yeah.
But like your Jedi Survivors, you could have made Outlaws.
Yeah.
And maybe you could have had a Jedi in
It's just funny how desperate publishers are for this. They're chasing the dragon.
But like,
and none of them ever catch it.
But the dragon is Capcom.
Yeah.
Like look at
that's what you should be chasing.
Yeah, look at the Capcom dragon.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they're doing great.
Yeah.
And they're making
better than anybody.
They're making actual video games all the time.
Yeah. Funny how that works.
Weird, huh?
Yep. All right, next up in the lightning round, we actually kind of spoiled this one a little bit earlier. Sometimes we do that. Amy Hennig's Marvel game, Marvel 1943, has been delayed into early 2026. Matt, were you surprised by this at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a vague holiday, I think, on that last trailer of like Christmas or whatever. But we still don't even know what this is, really.
No, we've never seen gameplay.
Like, is it an action game, an adventure game, like a Telltale-style narrative game? Like, we don't know. We don't know.
When they hadn't shown gameplay, I was like, well, yeah, of course it's delayed.
Yeah, like, I mean, I was basically going to say if we didn't see gameplay of this by Summer Games Fest.
Yeah,
like,
which is like 3 weeks away.
So I guess they're just getting a jump on
Well, I think they realized they weren't going to have it ready. And
no.
And so...
I mean, I am definitely interested.
Me too.
You know, I like Captain America. I like Black Panther. I like World War II. You're putting all the right things together here. This is an era that you don't really get to see covered very often in Marvel, which is cool. It's where Marvel started, you know, but that was the original stuff was Captain America, Human Torch, and Namor.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder if Namor shows up in this somewhere. I think that's a separate license though. He's Fantastic Four related, but like, you got my interest. It's also
as long as you get it out before GTA.
It's also Amy Hennig. It's you know, like one of my favorite writers, and I haven't been able to play an Amy Hennig game in what, like 11 years?
Yeah, I mean,
when was Uncharted? When was Uncharted 3?
2015. Is that right?
Is that recently?
It may be older than
Uncharted 3 was a PS3 game.
Yeah, yeah, it's older than that.
Yeah.
She's worked on a bunch of stuff. None of it's come out.
Yeah, she was working on Star Wars games that apparently weren't good enough for anybody.
It's so funny. But yeah, we don't really know what this game is. I'm not surprised that it's delayed. I do hope it comes out before May 26th so it doesn't have to butt heads with Grand Theft Auto 6. I have a feeling it probably will.
Yeah, I imagine it's still this fiscal.
Yeah.
My guess would be a February, March for this.
Yeah, before it turns over at the end of March. Yeah. So anyway, just keep in mind, a lot of people.
That's my guess of what they'd like. It doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
I mean, a lot of people probably forgot this game even existed.
Yeah.
Because they put out the one trailer. We haven't really heard anything since. I wouldn't be surprised if people forgot it even exists.
Well, the good news is it means that you're not going to disappoint anyone.
That's true. No expectations. Next up in the lightning round, the new Pope plays Wordle and Words with Friends. Is he a gamer?
I mean, close enough.
Yeah? Will you consider people who play those games to be gamers?
I mean, sorta.
Yeah.
When you play a game, you like games, you're a gamer. I mean,
yeah.
And
you play a game on a video screen.
Yeah, odds are he plays more than that too. It's like hard to.
That's
stop
what he'll
with
admit
those
to.
shits.
Yeah.
Like, everybody plays those.
Yeah.
Sure. I'd like to see what he can do with connections.
Yeah. Is it cool that the Pope plays games?
Sure.
Yeah.
It'd be more cool if the Pope admitted that there's a whole sexual abuse problem in the church. But
I did
Wordle's nice
it.
too. You know. I appreciate all the all the. Oh, he's just one of the guys. He went to the White Sox game, and it's like, yeah, okay, he's an American Pope, great, yeah. I hope he does something.
Yeah,
I mean, he started out pretty. His first day was like condemning authoritarianism and AI. So I'm like, oh, okay, we're on.
He definitely got off on the right foot. He ruffled all the right feathers on day one.
He's already using that terrible that rod of Paul, whatever, that ugly staff thing. It's like ancient. And so I saw someone like retweet that and said like the coolest thing about being Pope is you instantly get access to the Catholic endgame loot. And I'm like, it's true. Enough. It's true. They got a lot of stuff in that stash.
Yep. Next up in the lightning round, the Video Game Hall of Fame announced its inductees for 2025, and they include Defender, GoldenEye, Quake, and Tamagotchi. How do you feel about those inductees? Are they all worthy?
Yeah.
Any that you feel like aren't worthy?
No.
Tamagotchi, even? You feel good with that one on there?
Tamagotchi is very important.
I look at Tamagotchi, though, not necessarily as a video game, but it's like a little device thing that I had in my pocket, which technically is a video game. It has a screen on it. But yeah, that's the one where I was like, I don't know if I'd include that one.
That set the tone for 1001 other games we would not
It did cascade on down. Also, keep in mind that the Video Game Hall of Fame is a joke. I said also keep in mind that the Video Game Hall of Fame is a joke.
Yeah, it means nothing.
Yeah, but, we've actually usually stopped covering that. We wouldn't have covered it if it weren't for the lightning round. We wouldn't even have talked about it. But
my mom when Tamagotchi came out, went and bought like a few dozen of them.
Really?
So she had them to give to people because everybody liked Tamagotchi. And I never fully figured it out. That fucking thing just constantly shit and died on me.
I hate it. I never got into it.
But it was a big deal. It was right around the time of Pokemon, and it was all kind of part of that same sort of like, monster collecting in your pocket zeitgeist thing.
Yeah.
So no, that was a very important thing. I mean, also, if my mom knew about it, you knew that because I was in college or almost out of college at that point. Like we were my sister and I were too old to be, clamoring for Tamagotchi for Christmas. We would just go get one for ourselves.
Yeah.
But the fact that she knew, the same with Furbies. My mom was very good at knowing the trend. If my mom was like, I'm buying a bunch of Furbies, we're like, well, I guess Furbies are going to be big this Christmas. Because then she'd have a bunch of them, so her friends needed Furbies, and she's like, I got Furbies. Like that. She would stock. She was like a prepper for like fad toys.
That's funny.
I think she still has Furbies and Tamagotchi laying around. Last I saw, you want some vintage Tamagotchi? Yeah. I bet I can hook you up.
I think Defender's the other borderline one for me.
No,
even back in the arcade days, Defender was not the machine that everybody played. It was one of those machines where somebody...
But Defender's very important.
Yeah.
That's why.
When people would come in that were good at Defender, I would go watch them play.
Oh, yeah.
But there weren't many of them.
Defender's very hard. But Defender's very important, and Eugene Jarvis will talk about... I've talked to Eugene Jarvis about this guy who made Defender. Defender was the first game to have a lot of buttons. Mm-hmm. Defender, before
it had like
that,
6, right?
I think at least 6.
Yeah.
And before that, the idea was basically you had a joystick and a button, maybe another button.
Right.
But he was like, we need a button for this. So I had a bunch of buttons, and that was the first arcade game to really like load you up on the buttons. And it was after that everyone realized like, oh, players will adapt.
Can handle more than one button.
All these different controls if it's something compelling.
Yeah.
And Defender was obviously a big hit. I was never any good at it. I'm still probably not.
I'm not good at it either.
Going back to those classic games, it's always amazing to me how much better I am now that I understand
You're just
more.
good at
I'm generally good at video games. I'm better coordinated. I understand what they want from me in a way that I didn't when I was 5.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But I'm not any better at Defender.
Yeah, it's
like,
still really
Defender
hard.
is just hard as nails.
It
But like,
is.
and that's playing with a normal controller. You ever play it on an actual arcade thing? It's like all those buttons. They're the tiny. A lot of them are the little buttons. You know,
Right.
like those missile command buttons on the little cones. And you're like,
Yeah,
how do you
yeah.
fucking? There's no touch to this.
I forgot
you gotta
about
look all the
I forgot
time.
those cone buttons.
Yeah.
They're so stupid.
So yeah, I agree with that. I mean, these things don't have to be all timers, but they do need to be important, and Defender is important.
Okay, next up in the lightning round, Nintendo shared also this week. It's really been, it kind of waited to like share some of the more unflattering things after the honeymoon period with Switch 2.
Now that you got your pre-order in,
Pretty much. So Nintendo announced this week that it reserves the right to record your game chat conversations on Switch 2.
all right. So no planning the revolution on game chat.
Now, Nintendo says this is to protect its younger players in case there's adults on there trying to prey on young children.
I get
why it's there. I think people are concerned that it's a slippery slope, and Nintendo could just start spying on everybody. I think it's similar to
This
when
is what happens when you put Bowser in charge.
Yeah, seriously. It's kind of similar to when the TSA started like taking X-rays of everybody,
Right.
And everyone was like, "Oh, they're gonna take my naked picture and they're gonna put it on the internet." And then over time, people were just like,
they
"Whatever."
don't. They do laugh at it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's a very temporal thing.
And they stopped laughing after the first like 3 weeks of seeing everyone's little wieners.
Yeah, at a certain point, it's just sort of like,
Everyone,
well,
another little wiener. But it does seem similar to that. I mean, I don't like that any company says, "Hey, I could record you without telling you I'm recording you." There's just something in my heart that tells me that that's wrong. But I do understand why Nintendo is doing it in this case. Do I trust Nintendo to only record when it's supposed to? Probably, but not 1,000%.
I mean, you should assume any kind of online chat thing is being
Recorded, logged,
somewhere.
whatever. Yep.
Unless it explicitly states it
It's
doesn't.
not. It's true. Yeah. And that is now in Nintendo's terms of service for Switch 2, is that it is allowed to record your conversations on Game Chat. And I'll just be honest with you, I'm never going to use Game Chat anyway, so
No,
it doesn't
it
matter
doesn't
to me
matter.
at all. But for adults with kids, it may matter to them. But then they may look at it like, well, Nintendo's just trying to protect my kids and they're okay with it, so... bottom line is most of us will never use Game Chat, so it won't really affect us. But it's kind of a bigger question of like precedent, because has Microsoft done that with like Xbox, where it's like, hey, we reserve the right to record your chats and stuff.
Probably. I don't think
It's all
there's
buried
any way.
in terms of service.
Given how often people get suspended by like, here's the recording of you. I mean, clearly they are keeping track of it.
Yeah.
So just assume you're not. There's no privacy on
private.
that stuff. There's no reason to expect that.
That's true. Okay, next up in the lightning round. So the second season of Fallout on Amazon Prime launches in December of this month, or of this year. So about 6-7 months from now. But Amazon announced yesterday that it's already greenlit the third season of Fallout.
I guess they liked it.
Yeah, I mean, so the second season, they just wrapped shooting like a week ago.
Yeah, a week or two ago, yeah.
And, you know, they still have a lot of time to cut all that stuff together. But apparently Amazon's already like,
Well, I'm sure they've already seen rough cuts of the first, like, 3 or 4 episodes.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, because they're shooting...
Will they
as
shoot
they're
them in
going.
sequential order like
Probably
that?
enough that they can cut something together,
Yeah. Or they've read the scripts and know where it's
they know
headed or
they know
something
what's
like
coming.
that. I think, like, my question to you was smart move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Duh. It's definitely
Because
a
you
smart
got to
move.
get... I mean, and you're starting to see this a little bit. Like, they were getting smarter about this. Like, Ahsoka is finally shooting, and they're shooting... what you call it? Daredevil. The next season of Daredevil's already shooting right now. Because it's going to be out next year. It's like, yeah, like you can't wait 4 years between seasons for this shit.
Yeah.
You got to get this.
People lose
You
interest.
got to go.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you have to put a TV show season out in less time than it takes to get a degree.
Yeah, I agree.
How about that?
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
Somehow, major networks manage to do it every year
Right.
without fail.
With like double the number of episodes.
Right. Yeah, so there's something going on there. But this is a no-brainer. Like, they should sign Fallout right now probably for, like, 5 seasons. Like,
You're probably going to get 5 seasons out of
Yeah.
it, I would think.
I think so. So that's a no-brainer, and I think that was pretty
Yeah,
smart.
turning production over faster, knowing when you've got a winner, and dedicate. Again, Amazon can afford it if it all goes sideways.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, because they waste so much money on some of the
Right.
other things that do go sideways.
You're going to spend all that money on Rings of Power just because Bezos wants to see it. Like, go ahead.
Or on drone delivery.
Well, I still haven't gotten that right.
Okay, our final story for this week's lightning round. We got another look at Virtua Fighter 6 this week. They showed off Wolf. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, Wolf's not even in my top 10 favorite.
He's
Virtua
kind of
Fighter
iconic
characters.
for the franchise.
Oh, he's been there from the beginning, so yeah,
Yeah.
he's iconic. So I mean, it looks cool. It's certainly probably the coolest he's ever looked because he's
So you like the look of him?
I do.
He looks. You know who he looks like? He looks like that big dude that was in the Austin Power films. What was his name?
I don't remember.
He was like Scottish. He had like the kilt on. He had the beard. It was Michael Myers dressed as him in a fat suit. What's his name?
Oh, fat bastard.
Yeah. He looks like Fat Bastard.
I mean, I guess in the face a
Yeah.
little bit, not the rest of him.
No.
With his ab jiggle.
Yeah, but right there, I'm like, wait a minute, like
A little bit. He's got a little bit of that to it.
I don't like the look of Wolf at all.
He looks like Ganondorf to me.
He does. He looks like Ganon too. Like he just looks so different. Like didn't he have like a man bun with like a ponytail before?
He used to have like a ponytail.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It is.
That was the 90s, man. Get on with it.
I know.
Everybody's got beards now.
I just don't like the look of him at all. He just doesn't look like Wolf to me. And I'm just wondering what the other characters are going to look like now.
I mean, you're going to be able to
style.
modify all this shit anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
the extreme modification has been part of the series for a long
It's
time.
true.
So you'll be able to cut his hair. If
You're
you
right.
want.
That's actually
You'll be able to you'll be able to make your wolf pretty. It's
Yeah.
okay. I just think that and like the other stuff they showed with the environment, like this game looks incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
visual.
visuals
I
are
mean,
incredible.
technically, it's looking really
Yeah,
awesome.
we don't really know anything about how it's going to play.
Yeah,
necessarily.
they still don't even call it Virtua Fighter 6. I don't know why.
Yeah,
what are
I
they
don't know.
waiting for?
The most interesting part was the interview in the stream where the director was basically saying like nobody really knows anything about these characters because like there's no story in any of this. So there's actually going to be like character stories in this one where you're going to know who these characters are and why they're there and what's happening and what the story of Virtua Fighter is and who they are.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know some of it. I know Dural is Kage's mother and all.
There's some that they've shared, yeah.
back, but you have to get that. You have to read like game magazines and like comic books,
interviews,
and shit.
yeah.
And like it's just not in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So adding, in a world where the big sellers are stuff like Tekken and Mortal Kombat, which are very narrative heavy, I think that is the right direction to go.
Yep.
I also saw a very amusing Tekken tweet today.
About Waffle House?
Yeah, the Waffle House thing. I'm like, because I guess Harad. And the funny thing was that they never mentioned Waffle House in the exchange that was being posted as a screenshot. So you have to know what they're talking about because it sounds like they're talking about a very serious subject about getting a clearance for this and this thing that people really want and I want to deliver for you. And I know that this would be a great addition to the game, but I can't get in contact with them and no one's really answering the phone. But if I can, then I'm going to do that. Now that I see it, like you said that maybe if I just name it something like that, but not officially licensed, you'd be okay with it. So maybe we can talk about whether that. And I'm like, the subject being discussed here is a Waffle House stage in Tekken 8, just so everybody knows. And it's like, yeah, 100%. Like, I just want to throw King out the window of a Waffle House.
And then throw a waffle after
Yeah.
it. Yep.
That would be a really good... I think that's a really great addition. Like, I think you would get mainstream press off that, possibly.
Maybe.
Just because it's so funny.
Yeah, seriously.
And so on brand for both Tekken and Waffle House.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for the lightning round, which means there's just one thing left to do, and you know what that is. That's right. It's time for Name That Game Tune, brought to you by Soundwizardry.com, the true wizards in audio. Matt hinted at it earlier. We play all these games that have some crappy audio, and the first thing I think is like, it wouldn't be like that if Soundwizardry had worked on it.
Yeah. And Doom doesn't have crappy audio, but that one thing...
Yeah.
You need some sound guy to tell
it
you,
happens
like,
a
hey,
lot,
that
actually.
should not be happening. That should not be happening to my speakers,
Right.
let alone to my ears.
Yeah. Go to soundwizardry.com. Even if you aren't looking to hire Soundwizardry, there is some really, really cool stuff on their website that shows you how audio is really made in video games. I'm not going to spoil too much of it. Just go to soundwizardry.com and go there. He has a bunch of YouTube videos embedded. that shows you the environment that they work in while they are creating audio for games is definitely not what you would expect at all. Soundwizardry.com, the wizards of sound for both games and other stuff too. If you're working on podcasts or some AV projects, maybe you're working on a video or a short film, they'll do all that stuff. They do Foley work, they create sound effects, but their wheelhouse is working on games. If you're developing a game right now, you don't have an audio person yet or audio people, go to soundwizardry.com. It will be the best time you spent, the best money that you spent. Also, I promise you, once you start working with them, you'll realize why we partnered up with them. They are awesome people. Go to soundwizardry.com for all your auditory needs. Now, it's time to get on with Name That Game Tune. And how this works is, I play 5 samples from a video game, audio samples. You try to guess the name of the game before Matt. Matt, before you put the headphones on, actually, people brought something up that I want to discuss with you, that you should also be on slow mode. That it's not fair that you can just keep guessing game titles without having to wait a minute because they have to. Now,
generally I do, but I'm not going to stop myself from saying Psychonauts 2 after Psychonauts. So
normally my counterpoint to that is
I'm also up against more people.
Right. You're playing against hundreds of people and it's just you. And I feel like that kind of evens the playing field. Like, yeah. So I personally don't think Matt should go on slow mode.
I am not going to go on slow mode. However, like I do tend to just take one guess per sound.
Honestly.
But on that one, I'm not going to wait another round to say the same game with a number at the end of it.
It was just last week where that happened. We have played this game how many times? That's never happened until last week. That's another thing. I don't want to...
And I'll make bad guesses several times usually, and no one cares.
Yeah.
It's only when I get it right.
Yeah. I personally don't think Matt should be on slow mode because he's playing against hundreds of you. Somebody in our audience should be able to beat Matt. You have a couple
and they do all the time.
They do. You guys usually do win. And I think what's happened is that we either nobody's won or you've won a bunch of times lately. I think it's just the law of averages averaging out essentially. But I can see where if you're a viewer and you're playing, you'd be like, wait a minute, no one's won for the last. I understand where it's coming from. I just think everything's okay. I guess that's the way I would put it. If you have a strong feeling about that, put it in the comments below on SIFTD or on YouTube or on our Patreon, and I read all that stuff and I'll look at it. But as of right now, Matt is not going to be on slow mode. And so let me explain what you guys have to deal with. You guys are on slow mode while we play, which means you can only enter one game title every 60 seconds. Don't spam the game title with a bunch of random game titles. You will never get it right. You will lose. Also, please, if you're going to play, make sure that you either play PC games or you know somebody you can give a code to, because if you win, you get a free PC game. And then the final thing is you can only win once per calendar year. So if you've won already in 2025, also do not play because you could win. And then we go to the process and I'm like, wait, you won already. And now the whole game was wasted for this week. So please, if you've won this year, just don't play. Matt, let me make sure I got your headphones turned up here. I think that's about right. I can hear my echo from over here. Are you ready to play?
Yeah.
Are you guys ready to play Name That Game Tune? Here we go with the first sample. In 3, 2, 1. Not gone in 60 seconds. Vincent, yes, a lot of people watch Name That Game Tune. They love it. They actually comment a lot about it on YouTube. They get pissed off when they can't get it. Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. Yes, you got it right. No, it's not. Duke Nukem, no. Splinter Cell Blacklist, no. Psycho Fox. I'm not even familiar with that game. Siphon Filter, no. Death Stranding, no. Golden Axe, no. Splatoon 3, no. Fallout 3, no. And I only played that one once because it was pretty long. In fact, a lot of these are longer than they usually are.
Watch Dogs Legion.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right. See you next week, everybody.
How did you get that?
I played Watch Dogs Legion for like 40 hours last year.
Oh my god!
That's the spider zapping somebody, right?
Yes!
Yeah.
Damn!
I just had to go through the memory banks until I pulled it up.
You were just sorting through.
Like, I know that. I know that sound. And there it was.
I just gotta say it. He's whooping your asses.
One guess.
That's right. He didn't
Happy now?
You even guessed the exact game. You didn't just say Watch Dogs.
No.
I'll go through the rest of them. Just
You
cuz.
should turn the headphones down. I can hear him now.
All right, let me go.
He's a witch.
Here's the second one. And the samples were a lot longer this week. Because I was hoping you guys would get it instead of Matt. Here's the third one. Here's the fourth one. And the last one is just like a dead giveaway. It's just a voice sample. It's like,
we sure are the Watchdogs Legion.
yeah, seriously. I'm like, someone's getting it this week. I'm like, I mean, the voice sample might as well be like, I'm the narrator from Watch Dogs Legion.
Welcome to the Legion,
Yeah.
Watchdogs. Yeah, famous line.
Well, congratulations again, Matt. Sorry, people. I mean, he's just good. I mean, you're way better at the audio
I'm better
version
at sound,
than the
yeah.
screenshots for sure. Cinetyke says I got Disco Elysium on the first screenshot, which he did. Yeah, so don't you get cocky. We need a leaderboard for Name That Game. That's actually not a bad idea. At least like a running tally of how many times you've won it versus the chat. That would be fun. And I could just add it to this landing screen here for soundwizardry.com, and I think everything will work out great. All right. Well, that's it for GameFace, episode 433, right here on Sifted Games at sifted.net. As always, please head to patreon.com/sifted and give us a pledge if you can. For just $4 a month, you get all our content early. Sifted is spelled SIFTD, by the way. Please head over there and give us a pledge. That would be awesome. We'd really appreciate it. If you can't afford to give us money on a recurring monthly basis and you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, hook us up with Amazon Prime. That's great, too. You give us a free $2.50 every month. You hear us talking about it on GameFace every week. If you're watching on YouTube and you've never done it before, please go down below. How many episodes have you watched now? And you can't do it? You can do it. Go down below, read the instructions. Hooking it up literally takes a couple minutes the first time. Once your accounts are connected, it is like 3 clicks for $3. That's it. Click, click, click. $3. That's it. It's so easy. Please do it. We'd appreciate it. If you aren't an Amazon Prime subscriber, just like the show right now. Like the show right now. Leave a comment on the show. Great podcast. Hate podcast. I don't care. Comment doesn't matter. It's just make it. It makes a difference. It helps us pop up in algorithms. It helps the show do more views and exposes the show to people who maybe will go to patreon.com/sifted and start pledging, and we need it. So anything you can do to help the show, we appreciate all of it. We love all you guys. We appreciate all the stuff that you do to help us. Without you guys, it just simply wouldn't be. And thanks to our chat once again. Oh, El Hugo gets in late with Twitch Prime. Thank you, El Hugo. Saw that. But we appreciate all of you guys. Even if you don't do any of that stuff and you're just watching the show, I still love you. I'm just trying to pressure you into helping us if you can. So have yourselves a great week filled with awesome games. GameFace is up and out.